September 7th. Could we ask Mr. Randy Churchill, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Be happy to. Please rise. Hand over heart. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Director Mishler?
Here.
Director Magner?
Here.
Director Kelly?
Here.
Director Malloy?
Here.
Chairman Dixon?
Here. And any amendments to the agenda? Or do we have a ask for approval?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Director Magner?
Aye.
Director Malloy?
Aye.
Director Mishler?
Aye.
Director Kelly? Chairman Dixon?
Aye. And presentations, district highlights.
Chairman Dixon, members of the board, tonight I will be presenting you district highlights for the September 7th board meeting. I'm going to start with the Aquatic Center. The pool is currently closed up through Sunday the 10th. During this past time of August 27th through Sunday, the lifeguards and the maintenance have been working on cleaning the facility and repairing the equipment. This summer, the pool was extremely busy. They taught over 32 youth. They had over 10,000 youth participate in swim lessons, and they had 60 youth participate in the junior lifeguard program. We also had nature center activities. We had a junior ranger camp. That was the last part of July, 1st of August. They had 31 youth attend. They, on August 10th, they had the Pleasant Valley School District had a field trip that included 54 youth. And then they've had an outdoor survival skills with 36 youth. All of this was conducted with Ranger Lars and the district staff. Some upcoming events for the Senior Center will be on Saturday, October 7th, will be a rummage sale from 7 to 1 at the Community Center. And the prices of the space vary depending on how many spaces you want. For example, one space would be $25, two would be $45, and three would be $65. Another upcoming event is the Wii Bowling Tournament, which will be on October 12th at the Community Center. And everyone's welcome to attend and cheer your favorite team or your favorite bowler on. There's a couple of excursions planned for the seniors. There's a one-day excursion on the 17th of October. They'll be going to Pachanga. And there's a three-day excursion planned for November 7th through the 9th to the Riverside Casino in Laughlin. And there's two pricing. There's a $145 for double occupancy and $170 for a single. We have a couple of sport things that have occurred and that are upcoming. On August 26th, the Derby Darlings held a doubleheader at Freedom Park at the hockey arena. And the Roadrunner Remote Control Club has an off-road event on September 22nd and an on-road series the following day, September 23rd. And next month is Halloween. So on Tuesday the 31st from 5 to 8 at the Community Center, there'll be Trick or Treat Village and a costume contest and games, and there'll also be a local wildlife presentation. And in December, we're going to be having our Breakfast with Santa. That'll be on the 2nd, begins at 8 a.m. at the Community Center. And they're already taking registration for the pancake breakfast. And on the 9th of December will be the Christmas parade. And they have an early bird rate where you can fill out your parade application and turn that in by September 29th. And you can also, by September 29th, turn in your application to be a vendor at Santa's Village. Tonight I'm going to showcase 3 of the district parks: Calleguas Creek Park, Birchview Park, and Mission Oaks Park. The first park will be Calleguas Creek Park. It is a local neighborhood park, and it was developed in 2001. This park is a little over 3.3 acres. It has picnic tables, a barbecue grill, drinking fountain, benches. The play equipment is best suited for children ages 3 to 12. It has a walkway and access to a bike path. The next park would be Birchview Park. Birchview Park was developed in 1977, and it's a quiet park, and people enjoy taking a book, reading, walking around with their earbuds in, listening to music, just enjoying the nice Camarillo weather. Birchview is a smaller park. It's less than an acre. It has picnic tables, a bench, and a playground equipment that's suited best for children ages 3 to 5. The next park is Mission Oaks Park. This park was a work in progress for many years. It was developed from 1983 through 1996. It offers families to participate in sports, a large play area, covered picnic shelters to have family reunions, tennis courts, softball fields, and it has a off-leash dog park as well as an amphitheater. This park has quite a few picnic tables, 18. It has barbecue grill, a group picnic area, benches, drinking fountain, tennis courts, a softball lighted field, a volleyball court, amphitheater, the off-leash dog park. It also includes a finished lighted walkway and play equipment that's suited best for 3 to 5-year-olds and 5 to 12-year-olds. It has a large parking lot that can accommodate 321 parking stalls, and it does have 9 handicap stalls. This park is large. It's over 20 acres. So now we're going on to the spotlight. This spotlight will be a wrap-up of the fiscal year 16-17 finances. These are unaudited numbers, as the audit has not taken place yet, but this will give the board a good idea of where we ended fiscal year 16-17. We have 2 funds. We have Fund 10, which is our general fund, and Fund 20, which is the assessment fund. Our primary source of revenue for Fund 10 is our tax apportionment. As you can see, we exceeded our budgeted amount by $315,000 for fiscal year 16-17. But yet we were conservative when we budgeted in fiscal year 17-18, just in case something were to happen, because these are numbers that are out of our control. If something were to happen with the housing market, we don't want to get too ambitious with what we're budgeting. The next portion of our income comes from rentals. Again, we did a great year. We exceeded by $129,000 our rentals, and again, we were very conservative with our forecasting for 17-18. We also have called ROPS, the Recognized Obligation Payment Schedule. I take it upon myself to be very conservative with the board's permission in that budgeting line item, as I have no control over it. But you can see we exceeded my budget, or the budget, by $75,000, but I chose to leave it at $90,000 for 17-18, just to be cautious. We have our contract classes and public fees. We exceeded the budget in that line item by $75,000, but again, we were conservative with our forecasting for 17-18 by going $648,000, and compared to what we took in was $655,000. And we have cell tower revenue. Some of our parks have cell towers in them, and that's a source of revenue for the district that is again out of our control because they could decommission a cell tower at any time. but we've had good results with it, and we exceeded our budget by almost $12,000 for 16-17. So we kept in mind the cell towers that we have with the monthly income that we get, and that came to $82,000 for 17-18. For fiscal year 16-17, we budgeted $7.0 million, but we brought in $7.8 million. And that was due to the slide you saw prior with the property tax apportionment, the rentals, the ROPS, those type of things. But we did get a nice surprise during the fiscal year. It's an item we don't budget for. Again, it's something that we don't know when we're going to get. But we received a park dedication fee of $3.1 million. So in essence, our total operating revenue for the fiscal year 16-17 was almost $11 million over what we budgeted.
Leo, you mean our total revenue was almost $11 million. Our operating revenue is the lower number, the $7 million.
Correct.
Because the Quimby money has to be aside for development only. It can't
It
be
is.
used
It's
for
kept in a
operating stuff.
separate account, and it has restricted
Yeah.
uses on it.
You made a slight misstatement, which is easy because every one of these things is so tedious and so detailed. So I
Okay.
want to make sure it's
All right. Thank you. This is a pie chart showing the operating revenue for the fiscal year. And as you can see, the tax apportionment is extremely important to the district. It's 79% of our total revenue. This pie chart does not include the park dedication fee. As Director Malloy stated, those funds are restricted, so we cannot include those in our general operating revenue. And this is just to show you the type of, the way the property tax has been growing over the past 5 years. And it's continuing to increase, but again, the board, as well as the general manager, choose to be conservative when they are budgeting for this. And as you can see in this slide, we did budget less than what we received in our actual, again, being conservative. Now we'll go to the personnel section of our budget. Our full-time wages, we spent $63,000 less than what we had budgeted, but we're forecasting spending more on our more in 17-18 than we did in 16-17 actual. Our part-time wages, we spent less than 130. We spent less by 135,000. But as you can see, the forecast is over 700,000. That's primarily due to the minimum wage increase that is going up significantly. It went up already this year, and it's going up again in January. And our benefits, we include, we've spent less by 136,000, and that is, if you spend less in your wages, it affects your benefits. For example, your FICA, your Medicare, and your retirement. So that's why that number is less as well. But it's up for 17-18, again, because we anticipate spending more in our part-time wages as well as our full-time. We have a PERS loan that we pay on every year, and I believe that is going to be paid off in 2022. And that goes up every year. So next year will be $238,000, which is what we'll be paying. And then we have the PERS unfunded liability, which is going to be paid, it's going to be over 30 years. And that goes up every year. As you can see, it went up $44,000 just in one fiscal year. Though that item, we have no control over the what the bill is that PERS gives us. We have to pay it. We get a penalty and interest, and those can get quite expensive. Here is a pie chart to depict what our benefits look like. So as you can see, our wages for full-time and part-time alone equate to 70% of the personnel budget. and our benefits equate to 19%. Now we're going to the operating services and supplies of the general fund. So I pulled a couple of the line items from that to share with you. We have our liability insurance, and that was $17,000 less than what we budgeted, but it was up for 17-18. Again, this number is something that is dictated to us by our insurance company. So I take the number they give me at the beginning of the fiscal year, and sometimes it gets adjusted as it did in 16-17. So we got a little bit of a savings in our projection. Another item would be our building repair and maintenance. As you can see, we spent over $100,000 repairing our buildings, and we plan on spending about $114,000 this upcoming year on maintenance and repair of our buildings. Our legal services was down $29,000, and we budgeted the same for each fiscal year, just anticipating that we don't really have any big significant changes. Our business services were down by $36,000. That's primarily due to the election. We didn't have to pay the election fee in November of 16. And lastly, we have instructor services. That's up by $42,000, but if you recall in the revenue slides, our public fees was up, and those go hand in hand because we have instructors that teach the classes that are that the revenue comes into public fees. This is going to show the utilities to keep the district running as far as with the parks and the buildings and the pool. You see our gas, we pretty much hit the target in the budget. Water was down $14,000, but we anticipate it going up because the rates are increasing. And our electric was down by $35,000, and we budgeted about $226,000 for that. And we do have, we should still see some savings because we have meters at Pleasant Valley Field that we have a different tier rate. So we should experience savings in that. So this is a pie chart showing all the services and supplies, the operating, not including personnel, the operating expenses for the district. And as you can see, utilities are at 36%, which is almost $950,000. Another large part of the pie is the PV Fields loan, which is $308,000, and that figure will be goes up every year. And then we have collection fees for the RDA of almost $326,000. This is the district-wide expense. This pie chart includes personnel. So if you can see that we have in the blue, we have full-time wages, part-time wages, PERS unfunded, benefits, and the loan payment. The entire package to have employees and their benefits equate to 60% of our operating expenses. And our utilities equate to 15%. So for 16-17, the general fund operations of revenue versus expenses is, and this does not include the park dedication fee, was $7.8 million in revenue, and our expenses were $6.5 million. So now we're going to talk about capital, the projects that are that we're working on. In 16-17, we had a few projects that we worked on. We purchased a new truck. We repaired the stage floor. We slurry sealed the parking lot at PV Fields. Camarillo Grove got a new parking lot. And we have 3 new playgrounds. And those were installed at Adolfo, Encanto, and Woodside Parks. For 17-18, we have many projects going on. As you can see, there's a lot of activity at Kildee. There's a parking lot, pavilion, and pour and play repairs. Springville and Cam Grove dog parks will be having maintenance and repairs on them. And to continue the capital improvement project list for fiscal year 17-18, the pool will be getting new heaters and more electrical outlets. Mission Oaks will be getting a new roof. PV parking lots, a third of the lot's going to be repaved, and we'll have a needs assessment. Fiscal year 16-17, the district spent $481,000 in capital projects. And for 17-18, the district will be spending almost $805,000 in capital projects. So now on to the second fund that the district has. This is known as the assessment district. The assessment district has one primary source of revenue, and that's the tax apportionment. As you can see, we received almost $16,000 more than we budgeted, and we're budgeting about $11,000 more this upcoming fiscal year. This number comes from SCI Engineering that we hired to do an analysis to tell us what the new assessment tax should be and then what they feel that we'll be getting for the upcoming fiscal year. This miscellaneous revenue line item was just a interest on the account, as the assessment district has to be kept in a separate account. We do have some personnel charged to the assessment district, and that included, we have 5 employees, and we charge 25% of their wages and benefits to the assessment district. And this was for service and supplies. And if you notice, we're $367,000 under in service and supplies. That was for the PV field payment that was made. It was made out of the general fund this past spring instead of the assessment district. So overall, the district-wide operations, including the general fund and the assessment district, the revenue came in at $8.8 million. And our operating expenses came in at $7.6 million. Any questions?
Mike? No. Elaine? Mark?
I don't have any questions since I helped develop the presentation, but you know, the way we do the finances is we never actually talk about it. We look at it, you know, 1 month at a time to make sure we're on track. But I wanted to do this at the year end to sort of give people a sense of where the money goes and what it does and where we are, revenues versus expenses. And, you know, there's been this narrative that the park district's always broke and we can't do anything. And that's clearly not the case. We're in very good shape financially, and we're aggressively improving the amount of things we do. And I wanted to make sure everybody could see, especially the community, could see that picture and understand that we're now aggressively addressing things that we haven't been able to for a really long time, and we're in the condition to do it. So that's pretty much why I put this together. When the auditor comes in and goes through the audit statement, it's a bunch of really technical stuff. And it's hard even for me to understand. And I know most of this is hard for newcomers to it to get, but it's there and available. And the full budget picture and all that is available on our website. So thank you, Leo. You did a really good job.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Bob? No. Okay, thank you very much, Leo. Nice presentation. Thank you. Okay. Military Veterans Expo.
Good evening, Chairman Dixon and members of the board. I am here this evening because, as you know, the Senior Center has a partnership with the Ventura County Military Collaborative. And this year we had our expo in August. This would have been our 6th one, and every year they get bigger and better. So at this time, I would like to introduce to you the Executive Director, Kim Evans, who is going to come up and tell everyone more about this year's expo.
With your helper.
This is my helper, Addie. Thank you for having us. For those of you, some of you attended this year's expo, and some of you have attended expos in the past. So I want to say thank you so very much. This is our 6th year of doing our Military and Veteran Expo. The Ventura Military Collaborative is a small nonprofit. We are run out of the VCCF building here in Camarillo, and we are tiny with a huge heart, and we do a lot of great things, and one of the great things that we do is our expo. We were very lucky to have Chairman Dixon speak at expo, which it appeared he enjoyed quite a lot, so we were very thankful to have him there. I just wanted to give you a few kind of numbers and breakdowns. So what expo really is bringing about all the military partners in our collaborative. We have 195 partnered agencies, all government and nonprofit. And we bring them out to the community once a year here in Camarillo, so all of our military veterans and their loved ones can also get to know the agencies as well. We had over 2,000 participants this year. Expo is completely free. We had 125 agencies on the ground displaying everything from Pets for Vets that does service dogs for wounded veterans to the National Cemetery out of Bakersfield, and the VA was here. Basically all the Vs were there, everybody who represents a vet. We had the chief selects from the Navy base Ventura County. So we had 69 potential Navy chiefs and their sponsors. So we had about 125 of them, and they do amazing work. So if you ever need a muscle, they are a good group. We also had Carl's Jr., who sponsors the event as well, and they were able to donate 500 free meals from Carl's little mobile kitchen that zooms up. We are also crafty and creative. Right there. We are crafty and creative. We do things like we purchase hay every year, and this year we were able to get it from the fairgrounds. We transported it down here. We stored it on the stage for the week, and then when we're done with our expo, we then give it to Parks and Rec to use for Halloween. So we love to be able to get things for free and then pass them forward. I really want to say thank you to the Parks and Rec staff. They did an amazing job with 2,000 people at an event. It was wonderful what was done. Jane and Denise over at the office were absolutely amazing. We could not have asked for a better crew. And then your maintenance people on the ground were just unparalleled. We had Congresswoman Brownlee at the event. We had Assembly Member Jackie Irwin, and then we had Supervisor Long there as well. And then we do not have the final data. We have people register for the free meals, so we do collect data from that. We don't have it yet, but that'll break down where they're from, when they served, what war period, if they did serve during war, and then how many dependents they had with them. So if you're interested in that data, just let me know, and I can give it to Jane to bring in October. So the Ventura County Military Collaborative, like I said, likes to pass it forward. So I wanted to present the Pleasant Valley Senior Center with a donation of $2,000 from us for your support in helping us with our expo. Thank you. Did you guys have any questions for me about the event?
No?
I just want to say I've attended in the past. I couldn't this time, but it's always great, and you guys do a super job putting it all together and organizing it. Thank you.
Yeah, I have to say, we have nothing else like it in the county, and so to be able to watch a veteran, whether it's a Vietnam-era veteran or an Afghanistan veteran or even a World War II veteran, come into Parks and Rec and literally break down because they did not know this community support existed. If we just have one of those, that's profound, and we have multiple ones every year. So what you all have given us is just such a great gift. So thank you very much, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Let's see if Bob, any comments? No? No. No, I wanted to say I did enjoy it very much. It was a terrific time. I knew it was going to be a whole lot more than I expected when I arrived, thinking I was going to be early, and arrived in a traffic jam to get into the district. So it was a very phenomenal event. But considering all the people, all the cars, all the vendors, it ran like clockwork. Our staff here, your volunteers did a phenomenal job, and I enjoyed it very much, and I'm glad it was a great success. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, and Addie wants to let you know that she loves the parks here in Camarillo.
Thank you. Okay, we have a special volunteer presentation. Oh, no, is that right?
No,
Am I out of order? Okay.
maybe I might have ordered.
Introduce new staff member then. Okay. Go ahead.
Chairman Dixon, members of the board, tonight I'm here for a few reasons. Later to ask you for some money, and right now I want to introduce you to my new supervisor.
That'd be no. That'd be
I have Nick Marienthal. He's been with us for just about 16 years now. He's a very dedicated worker to the district. I can't say enough about him. We're happy to have him on our team right now. So I would like to use Nick.
Good evening. So I'd just like to say a couple quick words. First of all, I'd like to thank our General Manager, Mary Otten, for giving me this opportunity. I'd also like to thank the district and all the staff that have helped me get to where I'm at today. And I look forward to my new position and helping out in any way I can. So again, thank you very much for your time.
Okay, now Amy, I think we're have a special volunteer presentation.
Good evening, everyone. Chairman Dixon, members of the board. Tonight, I would like to recognize, or the district would like to recognize, a longtime volunteer who is leaving our community. And you know they carry a big impact when I walk up here to speak with a piece of paper, because I never speak with paper because I usually memorize what I'm going to say, but I needed a piece of paper. So, Matt Lorimer, can you come up here and stand next to me? You're not camera shy, are you?
No, I'm not.
I didn't think so. Did we surprise you?
I didn't, yeah. I didn't,
Oh, good, because we tricked you. We didn't let Matt know that we were going to do this tonight, which is why it wasn't on the agenda. And thank you, Denise, for coordinating all of this. As we walked around the office and we said, hey, what has Matt done for this community? What do you remember? There were so many things and so many different ways that Matt has touched people in this community, and we could not put them all down on paper, and normally we only have 3 minutes to speak, as you know. So I just put down a few things, but I wanted to let you know that Matt is a strong contributor, and I'm going to be turning around talking to the audience too, because I normally don't like to have people behind me when I talk. Matt is a strong contributor to our annual 50 Plus Expo. And if you've ever been a part of that, it is huge. It takes place every year in May at our community center, and it's for ages 50 and older. However, we might need to reduce that age even more because more and more people are attending with their families, which is fantastic. What you guys may or may not know is one of our most popular booths there is the district booth, where we give away fresh flowers, fruits, vegetable plants for people to grow their own gardens, and all of that is sponsored by Matt. He goes around, he gets donations, he brings those to us, he delivers them. So all of that is made possible through Matt, and that's one little secret that not many people know until they see you drive up with your truck and you have all of these plants in there. Come up here. The camera's right there. You are camera shy. Second,
That'll be the day.
We have community rummage sales here in the district. And again, if you have ever been a part of that community rummage sale, there is a traffic jam. Sometimes it goes out to Carmen, and you arrive early, much, I'll say even before the sun comes up, to get there. And Matt every year brings a truckload of goodies to sell to people. He's there for 6 hours. It starts at 7, goes till 1. I hope that's 6 hours. And he sells everything he can. And he doesn't just take the money, he donates that back to the senior center for the operating costs and all of the free programs and low-cost programs that we deliver to this community. Much of that is through you, Matt, and we want to thank you for that. Not many people realize that. He is a strong advocate for the senior center. Whether you've seen him here at our meetings, advocating and talking to everyone about the community, about the senior center. He wants a larger center, he wants a better center, and also at the city council meetings as well. I think I've seen signs on your truck too when you're driving around town, we need a better senior center. I think you might have ruffled a few feathers with that one. Anyways, Matt also drives to Thousand Oaks every weekend, and he picks up goodies from Panera's distribution center. He brings those baked goodies to the senior center, and our participants have freshly baked breads every Monday morning. And that's from you, Matt. No one buys anything. It's all for free, and it's all donated because of Matt. On Fridays, which is one of our biggest items, and I'm not sure how many people realize that all of this is because of Matt, he brings fresh fruits, vegetables, and a variety of food items from our local stores. He drops them off with his own truck, his own gas. I've never received any mileage reimbursement from you, a time card, or anything. He unloads all of this, and we have a lineup. Denise, sometimes 70, 90 seniors. We've started to have to regulate it. Next, we might have to add security, I'm not sure, but everyone lines up to get this free, fresh food from Matt. Matt, your generosity and dedication to this community is so unmatched that me standing up here and the board standing here can't even say enough for what you have done for us and this community and the people around you. Don't, because I've never started crying in my life on public television. These people behind you, in front of you, on TV land, they have a better life because of what you have done for us and this community. And I'm not sure if many of you realize this. Matt has a wife. Matt works multiple jobs, and he has a special needs son that he takes care of. And often he's with you. We see him running around our community center, and we're very happy that he's with us. And Matt, when you leave, we wish you the best of luck, and we will greatly miss you. We have a little token here for you. District sweatshirt for Matt. And then the board would like to get a picture with you as well before you go.
I was shocked. I didn't, thank you very much. As you know, I have a son who has autism. He has had seizures. It's been a tough year. We're moving, hopefully, to Texas. But I've always believed that you should help people. I've really enjoyed doing what I've done for this community. There's a lot of things you can do. You don't need to become a city councilman to do it. You can be an average person, whether you volunteer 4 hours at the senior center, whether you give $10 or whatever you do. And humanity is important, that everybody make a difference. And I'm glad I could in the community. Thank you.
Matt, if you could stay up there, I think some of the board members might like to say something. Anybody like to say anything?
I do. Yeah, I do, but I'm as bad as you are, Matt. We are, what Amy said, tenfold, okay? Your heart is bigger than anybody could imagine. And we're losing somebody, but I think another community's gaining. So good luck to you and your family. We'll definitely miss you.
Yeah, Matt, I want to say thank you again. We've talked a lot, of course, outside of these chambers and everything, but this one-on-one, I've always enjoyed talking and meeting with you and doing stuff together, and you've always been a good person. Thank you very much for everything you've done.
Bob.
Matt, I'm going to miss you. Yeah, but I still hope that you give me a call every once in a while and catch me up on what living in Texas with all those mosquitoes and chiggers and all kinds of things they haven't even discovered yet. But I know that you're about as tough as they come, and so I'm sure you'll do okay. I want to just tell you, I had a lot of fun hanging out with you. Election time, of course, we can't mention all of those things, you know, but many people who have seen Matt really get passionate and go after something he's really for might think that he comes up and that he's angry sometimes, and maybe sometimes he is. But let me just tell you, the guy can laugh. We've had some unbelievable, long, stress-relieving laughs over some pretty odd stuff. I think we've known each other for maybe 8 years or maybe even a little longer. And those times that we had, I'm not going to forget. I still laugh about them sometimes. Like I said, I can't mention what they are, unfortunately. But I'm going to miss you, man. Mark?
Man, it's finally here. I mean, when you told me, I was stunned. I couldn't imagine you leaving this place. But, you know, everybody's got to do what they got to do. You have been really hard on a lot of people in this town. But that's okay. That's what we're here for, and we need to hear it sometimes. And I appreciate you sticking up for the little guy and doing all the stuff that you did quietly in the background. You know, we started our own farmers market because of you, and it didn't work out. But hey, we gave it a shot. It was an idea worth trying, and you're gonna leave a big hole here. You're certainly gonna leave a big hole in the diet needs of our senior center people. And I also think it's going to hurt our TV ratings to not have you in here pounding on the city council for 3 minutes at the start of each meeting every month. But some people have a different opinion on that. But anyway, best of luck to you and your family. We'll miss you.
Well, Matt, I didn't know Matt until I got on this board, but I think that's probably one of the most special things that's happened to me on this board is getting to know you. You're a phenomenal person. It's very humbling to know somebody like you who, with just pure grit and heart, can do so many things and make this world a better place just by being here and through your efforts. And I appreciate it very much. Texas is going to be a better place, and we're going to miss you here. So good luck. And we'd like you to come up and take a picture with us so we have something to remember you by.
I'm going to give this my sage advice. It's absolutely the opposite of what I used to say. Don't stay out of trouble.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. We're now to the section on public comment. I'm not going to read through the entire details of this, but this is the opportunity for the members of the public to speak before the board. Each speaker is allotted 3 minutes. We do ask that if you're going to speak to a specific agenda item, that you wait until that agenda item comes up. And we also ask that speakers fill out one of these yellow cards and turn them into the clerk of the board so that we have your name on the list to call you up to speak when the time is appropriate. I do have a lot of cards here. I looked through them. It looks to me like almost all of them are related to agenda item 8. So I will ask you to wait until that agenda item comes up. We do have one speaker card that is not addressed to agenda item 8, and that is Mr. Matt Lorimer.
Thank you again. That was very special and meaningful to me. Well, my wife said to me, we're leaving. Why are you starting again with the city? I don't know what it is. I just love it. It's not that I love it. I was going to Fiesta, and a lady called me over. I was there with my family, and she said, Matt Lorimer, I need your help. She introduced me to her daughter, who's like 6 years old. She says, I don't have the nerve to come to the city and tell them off because my child hand basically was cut at Dizzle Park. So let me to go into the thing. I gave the city a complaint July 26. Dizzle Park was a cemetery park dated back to 1890. Mike Dizzler paid to relocate the burial remains. In 1965, the park was dedicated to the Pleasant Valley. In 2011, the City of Camarillo bought the park. City of Camarillo plans were to buy the firehouse, become a restaurant, and use the park as a stage and parking. Today, almost 20 years later, the firehouse remains boarded up with no improvements. The park has become allowed to become run down under the City of Camarillo ownership. Today, the park has a broken water fountain, unsightly appearance, unsafe conditions for children and adults. Below are examples. When I went to Dizzle Park, the pictures are in front of you. The audience can't see them at home. A desk was laying in the park. You had the F word on a sign. You had broken concrete near a water fountain. The water fountain wasn't working. The park benches are rusted out. The girl basically was across the table somehow, cut her finger. The garbage can, the new city logo there looks like the pirate, which is not. The grass was dead. You had electrical power pole. The wires were hanging out. The mats were unsavory. I went to talk to the city, and what happened is I was told the park belonged to you guys. I go, really? That's news to me. Then I went again, and I was told you guys were in charge of the maintenance. Nope, that's not correct either. Again, I went to city council last night and said you have a garbage can. The park benches still need to be replaced. I didn't seek it out. I looked at that. The woman, I met her daughter, and I felt like somebody's got to speak about it. So, again, I gave the city hell. They're upset with me. But, that park used to belong to you guys, and people have the impression somehow it's yours, and it's not. It's the city of Camarillo's. And it's unsafe. It should be corrected. They're working toward it. But, again, as I'm on my way out of town, it's just the way life is. And I did because I care about people, and that's all my emotions are, and that's what I'm about. I'm a right-to-the-point guy. I try to make things better, and everybody can make a difference no matter who you are in life, and you should try. No matter what it is, it can be small or anything, but again, I want to thank you guys and everybody at home, and I'm a different person. We're all different in our ways in life, but like I told my wife, you can't break me. I'm just who I am. So, again, I want to thank you again. And I'm just stunned tonight. I really appreciate it, and thank you so much. And one last thought. I know Amy's leaving. Moving on. I've met. What makes your board so special? And it's the people, because your board allows different people to come in here with different opinions. And we tried the fruits and vegetables farmer market, didn't work. But the thing is, that's what this country is about, trying new things, having different ideas. When we disagree, we work together and solve problems. And that's all I've always wanted, even with the city of Camarillo. But somehow it's a different philosophy at the Park District. You guys have a different philosophy, and I've been to both meetings, and I'm grateful to have met you because I've learned things and you've learned things, and that's what it's about. You're never too old to learn things, even from a little child. So thank you very much again.
Thank you, Matt.
I'd like to say something. This is like a really fitting tribute to Matt's last night, because I watched the city council meeting last night, which Mary attended, and the city has addressed and is addressing every one of these issues, is really on top of this problem, and I know why they are. Thank you, Matt. And you know, they're going to do a lot of work to upgrade that park and make it look like it should. And I'm pretty confident that, you know, they're as tired from hearing from you as can be, and they know that you're not going away. Darn it! But you know, you've been effective, and this is a great example of all these little details which are easy to be overlooked, but they all add up to being less than they should be. And what you did has resulted fairly quickly, not as quickly as we want, which is typical in government, but reasonably quickly. They've been addressed, and the park's going to be made a lot nicer for it. So thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
Anything else?
For those of you who are out there watching on TV, just to reiterate, that is not our park.
Okay. Moving on to item 7, consent agenda. Do we have any changes to the consent agenda? Any?
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Second.
Director Magner,
Aye.
Director Mishler,
Aye.
Director Kelly, Director Malloy,
Aye.
Chairman Dixon.
Aye. Okay. Okay. Item 8. A is senior and community recreation facility needs study and assessment.
Good evening, Chairman Dixon, members of the board, Mitchell Cameron, administrative analyst for the district. And tonight, I'm asking that the board consider approving, and it is recommended that the board authorize the general manager to enter an agreement with Green Play LLC to perform a senior and community recreation facility needs study. A little bit of background: 2013, the district developed a strategic plan. It identified multiple needs, including collaboration and strategic partners, balance of programming and facilities, identification of changing demographics, and organizational health to meet the district service goals. In 2013, the district also developed a 5-year capital improvement plan. 2017, the district seeks to accomplish the vision set forth in the strategic plan and capital improvement plan and budgeted for a needs assessment. And then later in 2017, the district entered into a cooperative agreement with the city to complete a needs study. Staff, in conjunction with the liaison committee, identified 6 different tasks that will achieve the goal identified in the RFP, including evaluate current and indoor programming and facilities, determine current and future indoor recreation facility needs, perform a gap analysis to identify the variance between 1 and 2, and then 4, identify solutions to meet the recreation facility needs of the community. 5, identify specific funding strategies to implement and maintain proposed solutions. And 6, provide a final report and prepare a presentation for the board. All right. To accomplish these tasks, Green Play identified multiple methodologies to achieve these, including a strategic kickoff meeting, GIS files, for current facilities, indoor and outdoor program assessment, and this is on top of the methodologies we identified in the RFP. And then for task 2, to determine current and future indoor recreation facility needs of the community, not only did Green Play propose the utilized methodology identified in the RFP, they added 2 community meetings, 1 statistically valid paper mail survey performed by a survey consultant, RRC. They'll do 3 board meetings / presentations and at least 8 stakeholder user group interviews. So a stakeholder interview would be, could be an example of that would be the mayor or potentially stakeholders in the area, including like a school superintendent, and those will be more.
Or the Camarillo Healthcare District.
Camarillo Healthcare District, to name a few. Any organization or leader who may have a stake in this study. Those would be more individualized interviews, and then we'll also have focus groups that will have between 10 and 20 people in those groups to answer some questions that will be prepared during that. For task 3, to perform a gap analysis, not only will they do the things outlined in the RFP, they'll also do a demographic projection, do some trend analysis, a SWOT analysis, and development of a short and long-term strategy for planning of potential programs. And then they'll also rank and prioritize the demands and potential opportunities. Task 4, identify solutions to meet the recreation needs of the community. Again, they'll add on an operational assessment, an operational budget, and 5-year pro forma. And their proposal also included the use of an architect if it is if the community has determined that they need a recreational facility. Task 5, identify specific funding strategies to implement and maintain proposed solutions. So again, they'll identify partners, they'll provide a 5 to 10-year funding sources, and then they also provide an option for a detailed financial analysis in the event that's something we want in the future. And then again, they'll provide a final report and presentation. All right, so there's a timeline that we presented earlier, updated with information from the consultant, which includes an approval of September 7th, and then the preliminary assessment, we expect that to be done in March, and again in April. One thing that we've identified is the need to get as much community input before the holiday season. So if the board were to approve this tonight, the hope would be to get all the surveys and the collection of data before Thanksgiving. So if this is approved, residents can start to expect to receive surveys, and we'll be asking for a lot of feedback in the next couple of months. So fiscal impact, we budgeted $68,790 in the fiscal year 17-18 budget. Greenplay proposal included a not to exceed amount of $89,315. Both the district as well as the city have agreed to pay for half the cost of the assessment. The anticipated fiscal impact to the district will be $44,658. Per the cooperative agreement, the district and the city have agreed to allot 120% of the anticipated cost, which would be $53,590. The district board has already allocated $68,790, so that is within that margin. So no additional action would be required for that budget adjustment. And again, it's recommended that the board authorize the general manager to enter an agreement with Greenplay LLC to perform a senior and community recreation facility needs study. I also have Tom Deal, who will be the project manager representing Greenplay today, so I can bring him up as well if you have any questions.
Okay.
Any questions or comments?
Okay. Mike, you want to start?
What, you want to introduce, have Tom come up here and just say hi?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, this is Tom Deal representing Greenplay and the proposed project manager.
Why don't you just say a few words for the other board members? We talked before, but.
My name is Tom Deal. I'm with Greenplay. Our company is out of Colorado, but we're national. I actually live in Virginia. We've done 450 similar projects to this. We gave our proposal a couple of weeks ago. Our team is ready to go. I spent some time today with Mary and Mitchell. We're excited to be involved in this project. I'm just completing similar projects in Redmond, Oregon, and a few other places. So, you know, this is what we do. We help communities with determining their needs, and community engagement is going to be a big part of this. We'll have several focus groups, as Mitchell stated, stakeholder meetings, a lot of tours. We'll spend a lot of time here, get to know your community. The group we're working with, RRC, our survey is outstanding. We do both a mailed survey and a open link survey, so everyone in the community will have an opportunity to participate should they choose.
All right. Well, Mike and Elaine probably know the most about this, but I'll go.
You want me to? I'll just mention a few over. We had couple of weeks ago. We had a interview process. We reviewed all three companies that responded to the RFP. The people in that meeting, we had a collection. Jan McDonald, the mayor of Camarillo, with city staff, and we had our own staff with Elaine and myself there asking questions and going through the proposals and stuff. We all agree that this was the best proposal and the best people to complete the project. The important thing to remember here is, from the community standpoint, is we know we have a problem. The issue is not, do we have a problem? The issue is, now that we all know we have a problem, but how to go forward and solve this problem. And the key step is going out into the community and working with the community to identify the service needs that need to be filled, that we can't fill now. And then once you have the service needs identified, then you can work with the facilities that have to be associated to fulfill those service needs. And so that's just a kind of a short overview of this process we're going through. And we want to have as much community input and feedback as possible going through this. And we'll try to be as transparent as possible through this process. In the city, I also want to add that the city has been very helpful with this, in putting together proposals and going through the everything that's been happening. In fact, sometimes they got the whip out and they want to go faster than we do. Sometimes it seems like they're really anxious to move forward with this. And so this is only the first step. This is only the first step to take in this process. And step 2 will be a follow-up where we actually go through and look at the facilities and working arrangements with the city and stuff like that for future operational stuff. Anything else I miss?
Yeah, I just want to say one of the things that we talked to Tom and his partner with was the timing of everything. And with us coming into the holidays, it's so important for us to move forward. And he's just talking about them finishing up a couple other things, and that was one of our things. Were they going to be able to hit the ground running? And they assured us they're ready to go. And I think that's what's so important, that we can get the surveys and everything out and done prior to the holiday season when everybody's tied up with things, so that we get the most input that we can from the community. So.
And I think for the timeline there was basically in about 6 months, if things work out correctly, if things go forward as hopeful as we do, maybe within about 6 months we'll be able to have a final report back in terms of what then that's the first step then to go forward with the city on to move forward to make improvements in our facilities.
And if I could just address the availability, basically we develop what's called a work plan week by week, and before we even are allowed to propose on a project, we put it into our calendar to make sure it fits. So I actually already have on my calendar all the different meetings that we would have all the way up through next April with a final presentation. And if we're awarded the project, that's locked in. And for instance, if I'm supposed to be here someday in October and there's an opportunity to go to another proposal presentation, I don't get put on that project because I'm already locked in to do this.
Okay. Bob.
I've got quite a few questions here, but initially, I'd just like to make sure that the citizens here and the people here tonight understand exactly what we're attempting to do here. When we first started this, we were told that we needed this needs assessment, and it came from the city because we were trying, of course, to get the city to pay for the senior center because it's a very expensive project and we don't generate enough funds in order to build it ourselves. But just in case maybe I analyzed this incorrectly, your particular company appears to have more skin in the game than just the needs analysis, correct?
We're going to do this project. If we recommend that you build a building, there's no benefit to us. That's not what we do. We're going to do a full needs assessment. We're going to give you conceptual plans and a pro forma budget and everything. And then, we're done with that project. We'll give you an honest opinion, what we learned from your community. So we don't gain one way or the other whether we recommend a facility or not, or whether you go forward. Should you go forward, there's other skills we have and things we do, but if our recommendation is that you build a facility, we'll give you all the information you need to be able to move forward, and we don't need to be part of the next process.
But would it be fair to say that you might want to be part of it?
Yes, but we would, like typically, this is a needs assessment, and if you did anything like a feasibility study or actual construction of the building, we would then be most likely a partner with another firm that would help with that, because, all the people on our staff have operated facilities and managed them.
When you said plans, what specific plans are you talking about?
We're going to provide you with conceptual drawings based on what the elements of the facility would be, based on the needs assessment, based on what we hear from the community. So we'll hear from the community what programs and activities they would like to have, and that will help us give a recommendation of what amenities you need to have. So just in general terms, if we hear a lot from the community about a specific need, like, the need to play basketball and volleyball and things like that, that would lead that a facility might need to have a gymnasium. If you heard about something else, like related to the senior center, more space for cards and Wii bowling and things like that, we take all that in and we build a program of what the facility should have. And then we give you a conceptual plan of what would be in a facility, what it would look like. They're not construction documents, they're conceptual plans. And along with that, we give you a cost analysis, a range of what it would be to build your facility based on the square footage and everything. And then we also give you a pro forma budget of what it would take to operate such a facility, as to whether you would be needing to ask for, additional funding to operate the facility, or whether there could be cost recovery based on the facility.
That's a very adequate answer. Thank you. Mitch, maybe I don't understand this thing with not to exceed $68,790. Does that mean you can spend up to that number, just below that number, before you have to come back to us?
So the way that we currently have this budgeted, it wouldn't require board action to go up to 68,790. The quote, though, is a not to exceed amount, so it would be difficult to come up with a situation where it would go above the 44,658.
So let me. Maybe. There we go. So one of the things that we have done with this project is we do have a not to exceed. Working with liaison committee, so both the city as well as the park district are splitting this in half, so we have a little over 44,000. We put 120% of what that is because, as he had mentioned, we're doing one statistically valid survey. If the liaison committee came back and said, hey, instead of sending, let's say we're supposed to send out 3,000 surveys, but the board or the liaison committee says we want to send out 5,000, there's an extra fee to do that. So what both agencies have agreed to is 120%, which is where you get the 53,000. So that's the reason that number is in there, is about 53. So if somebody comes back and says, we really want this piece, or we want 5 more stakeholder meetings opposed to the just 12 that are in this, it leaves a little lateral or a little room to do that. So that's where we have that. So that's where that 53,000. What we budgeted as a district was this little over 68,000 a year or so ago at that point. So that's why Mitchell is saying that if we have that potential, that we wouldn't have to go back for a budget adjustment. But right now we're looking at 53,000 of what that looks like.
And I should just add on top of that, Buddy, that the consultant would be working directly for our district. Even though the city's paying half the cost, they really don't have any direction involved with the study. In other words, we're the ones, the district is responsible for the study. They will be receiving, obviously, a copy and a presentation thing of it, and they're paying half the bill. But it's our staff, it's our district, we're the lead agency on this 100%.
So based on this statistically, what did you call it? Valid survey. I'm not sure I know if that actually exists after the last election, but what if that survey comes back and it says, oh, we need some other type of recreational activity, or we should spend the money somewhere else? What happens to our senior center?
So I think the way to address that is we also have the online survey, and then we hold the focus groups as well as the community meetings to ensure that they're all in line. If something were to be out of line, then we could potentially go out for additional surveys or hold additional meetings to identify why there's a variance in different survey methodologies.
It's just one of the tools that we use.
How's that survey done anyway?
So what will happen is we will start with a strategic kickoff where we'll meet with your team and go through the whole plan. We'll develop focus groups and focus group survey or focus group questions that will be developed between the two of us. Myself and Art will come to town for 3 days. We'll have focus group meetings, stakeholder meetings. We'll meet with people. We'll also do a tour of all your facilities. We do a SWOT analysis with your staff, and we do a trends study and a demographic study. So we learn everything about your community. The survey is one of the tools we use, but typically the survey gives us information about what the community wants. Our focus group meetings, our stakeholder meetings gives us information about the community desires. The SWOT analysis with the staff gives us more information. All of that is added together.
I'm talking mechanically. You send out emails, you send letters, what do you do?
Mechanically, the survey is RRC will buy addresses from your community, from a survey, from a firm that's what they do, and then they'll randomly select 3,000 addresses, and they'll mail a hard copy survey to 3,000 addresses, randomly selected. It's typically a 4-page written survey that if you receive one, there's an invitation code on it. You can fill out the paper survey, put it back in the envelope, and mail it back. You could drop it off at the district, or there'll be a code on it, and you can go online and fill out the survey electronically if you prefer. And it's coded so we know that that's one of the invitation surveys.
And so is there geographical equality?
Yes, they randomly select and they look at that to make sure that they've gone all over the community, and they're coded so when they come back we know where they were mailed to. If by chance out of the 3,000 surveys that mail out we don't get enough responses, typically RRC will then send another 1,000 or so. But after that, approximately 2 weeks after that survey is mailed out, RRC will start talking to me every day after they mail the survey. They'll tell us when it's going to be mailed, when you can expect it to hit your mailboxes. 2 or 3 days later, they'll tell us that we've started to receive responses. Typically after about 2 weeks, we've received a decent number of responses. Then we will open up what's called the open link survey that will prepare information for the district to advertise, and anyone in your community can go online and take that survey as well. Or they'll have the ability to come like into the Park District office and ask for a written copy. There'll be written hard copies, for instance, in the senior center. So if you didn't actually get an invitation to take the survey, you could still take the survey.
So would it be a fair statement to say that a tremendous amount of work which we're paying for is going to be directed at needs other than the senior center?
The survey, the way we develop the survey is based on what the critical success factors of the project are, which get determined during a strategic kickoff. But basically, we're going to ask you, what is it that we're studying? And right now, my understanding is that we're studying the need for a senior center and a community recreation center. And those two things, typically what we're seeing all across the country, are one.
So this survey we talked about earlier, is it going to be directed at that particular objective?
Absolutely. Like the very first question we ask, the first couple questions are demographic questions like age and where you live and all that. But then after that, the survey is written specific. It hasn't been written yet. The survey will be written specific for this project. So after we do our focus groups, we'll have heard from people in the community what amenities they think they want, and what activities they think
Okay,
they want.
when you say amenities, are you talking about amenities at the senior center, or are you talking in general?
Amenities related to the need for a senior center and a recreation
Okay,
center.
that's what I wanted to hear.
Yes, so they will be things that they want in a senior center, hard physical, or the senior center itself. But the survey will be written so that we're asking questions specific to that. So we'll ask, do you believe there's a need for a senior center? What activities do you want to see in a senior center? What amenities do you want to see in a senior center?
Okay, let me read something to you as to why I wasn't really going to ask very many questions, to tell you the truth. But in the analysis, it says, the purpose of the study is to evaluate the current shortage of recreational and educational space. You lost me when you said that. Because I thought the objective was to put a new senior center in town here. And that seems like that's kind of going off in a somewhat opaque direction. And I didn't really understand what that meant. Then the next sentence says the district and the city are seeking to better understand the recreational and educational needs of the community with an emphasis on the senior population. Just so everybody understands where I'm at on this, I boarded this train to put a new senior center in this town. That's my objective right now. Not that we don't need other things. Believe me, we have the gentleman mentioned a gymnasium a minute ago. He didn't know how close to being correct he was. All you have to do is go back and read my past campaign literature. But that's where I want to make sure the focus is. I don't want to see this float out and get nebulous. To me, this is about the senior center.
Buddy, I think part of the confusion is a senior center means different things to different people. You have to be kind of careful. For example, if someone's a senior and they want to come in with their smartphone and learn how to operate that, that's an educational course.
I got it.
Okay, so I'm just saying that's why some of those words are in there. It doesn't mean we're going to be offering schools or cottage courses or something, but those are some of the activities that some people maybe are not thinking about, or how to operate or do email or whatever. I'm just saying. So, or Facebook or something. So those you have to make it broad enough to make sure you're capturing everybody's interest. And we also have to make sure we're broad enough because we only capture a certain segment of the community today with our current facilities. And there's a lot of people moving who travel every day to other communities to use their senior centers because we don't provide that. So
and they tell me about those all the time.
Yeah.
Like I said, I just want to make sure the focus is where it's supposed to be.
Right.
Okay. Absolutely. And the intent of that line is to identify service needs so you can create a facility that meets those needs.
I have nothing further.
Okay. Mark?
This process sort of reminds me of shopping for a car. At first you know exactly what you want, and then you go to the dealer and you go, oh, it doesn't have this and it doesn't have that, and it's got this little teeny screen, and and it's noisy, and so then you start realizing that you have to invest an awful lot of time before you figure out what you really want. And we almost did this the first time around, and I'm really much more comfortable about buying this car than the original. Because I was one of the ones that bailed on the idea originally. I'm a lot more confident that this is going to tell us what we need to do. As a professional marketer, I've seen what really good focus group people do, and it's absolutely amazing at how good they are at peeling out the facts without getting it to be all anecdotal. Real pros at this stuff are really good at identifying the right answers. And we have an idea of what we want more of because we're in that business, but I'm really much more comfortable with the whole process as we're talking about spending millions of dollars here and having the impact for decades. I'm really comfortable that we're going to be a little more detailed, take a little more time. Everybody always wants it now. I get that. I'm one of those guys too. But the timeline makes an awful lot of sense and is going to head us in a lot smarter direction and make sure our money's much better spent. So I'm glad you guys stayed with it and came up with a much better plan. So I'm very supportive of the proposal that we have. That's all I have.
Yeah, when this whole idea first came up, our initial discussions about a community needs study was broader than just the senior program. We did talk about general needs assessment study for the entire community, and we've narrowed it down to a senior center. But our primary focus does need to be on the needs of seniors because they're clearly underserved in this community. But we also want to keep open the option that if we're building a center that can serve the entire community and serve the needs of the seniors first, then that's a good thing. If we could put a gymnasium in that seniors can use, but a youth group can use too, then I'm in favor of that. So I kind of like a little bit of looseness in the wording that allows us to maybe assess the more general needs of the entire community. I am glad that we're going forward with this. And there's also been a lot of discussion about should we spend this kind of money. It's a lot of money, and we have a lot of things that we could spend that money on. And there's been a lot of comments on this board and a lot of comments in the community of why waste this money? You know you need it, just go out and build it. But I think this is such an important, big job that we want to make sure we get it right. And there'd be nothing worse than go out, and I think Director Malloy alluded to this, that nothing could be worse than to go out and spend a lot of money on a project and not have it turn out what we want it to be, and not to serve the needs of the people that we built it for. So I hope and I think it's going to be money well spent. I did have a question about the feasibility part of it. You mentioned that this is. My impression is that this is solely a needs assessment, but does not address our actual capability of completing the project to achieve the solution to those needs. Is that?
A feasibility study is slightly different, but what we do with this, it's a needs assessment, so we're going to determine what your needs are, but we're also providing you with conceptual plans and a pro forma budget. So we're going to take you right up to that stage where, yes, this is what you should do, this is a budget range of what it's going to cost, and this is what should be in it, and this is how you should operate it and everything. Then you have a choice to make. Typically what would happen is you're looking to take it to the next step. So you may do a feasibility study, but it's not always done. Basically, we're going to tell you, or provide information of should you build a facility, what should be in the facility, approximately what would it cost, where could it go, and then how much would it cost to operate it annually for the first 5 years. And things we include in that are like staffing costs, equipment costs, utility costs, all of that, and things for revenue that we include depending on what we learn is your different methods of bringing in revenue, whether it's user fees, participation fees, membership fees, all those different types of things. And we put that all together and we provide you with information as to whether your revenues will be less than your expenses or more, where your cost recovery is.
So you are looking at our revenue and our resources and coming up with a recommendation on something that's actually reasonably achievable within.
Briefly, in another project that I'm just finishing up, their cost recovery is going to be 85%. So they anticipate that what they're going to spend every year, they're going to recover, not the construction, but the operating, 85% of it. So they're only asking their board for a small amount of money. So they're not going to do another feasibility study because, to ask the board to increase their budget by a couple $100,000 isn't that hard. If, the feasibility, if the study came back and said, their annual operating is another $2 million, then they might need to do a feasibility study to see, is it feasible? The other thing is how we get the revenue. In that other project, that's only 1% of the community buying memberships and stuff, which is, you would hope that more than 1% of your community would use a new facility.
And let me just remind everybody, we're going to get back 3 different levels of proposals. So we're going to have a bronze, silver, and a gold type of possibilities to be looking at between us and the city.
It's a team effort. So we'll develop what we call the program, the things that should go in a facility. We'll share that with you. We'll know your tolerance for how big of a project we could, have. And then there might be something the community's asked for, but it's a little more expensive than what you want to do. So that would be an add alternate to the potential project. We also look at conceptually designing the project in such a manner that, where it's located, future addition options and things like that.
I'm sorry, another question, just a sort of more of a technical question about the surveys you're sending out. You said that the initial 3,000 surveys that you send out are sort of basically an invitation. They're a randomly selected group of people, and then you open it up to the general public. How do you weight those surveys differently, and otherwise, what would be the purpose of sending out an invitation group and then an open group? What?
Survey like that, you're allowed to have a statistically valid survey. If you just did an open line survey, it's not statistically valid because it's not sure that you've reached everybody randomly. Someone could actually go online and fill out the survey multiple times. Our survey firm does look at that. So if all of a sudden they get 50 or 60 surveys from the same IP address, we'll speak to you about that. If it's from the senior center, fine. If it's from somebody's home, then we count that survey once. Mm-hmm. But basically, it's a standard methodology. This group that we're working with has done over 100 projects with us, and they do surveys all across the country with resorts, ski resorts, homeowners association. This is, that's their one business is surveys. So the online open link survey will compare the two, and typically, I can give you information. Typically, the open link survey, those are people that really want to give you input because they have to choose to come and do the survey. The other one comes in the mail. So when people hear about this and we'll advertise this, typically we'll get quite a few people that fill out the open link survey because they just didn't happen to be mailed one randomly. And you get a lot of feedback. We also have spaces on the survey for comments, and those are huge. A lot of times we have 60, 70, 80 pages of written comments that we take from the surveys. We read all of that, and we'll share that with you.
But again, are the surveys weighted in the same? An invitation survey is weighted the same as an online survey, an open survey.
The statistically valid survey is put here, and the online survey is put right next to it, and we look at them both, and we look for any abnormalities.
Okay.
So, but we don't mix the data.
No.
Okay.
Separate data sources.
Okay. Okay. That's Bobby had another question.
Are you going to have any personal involvement in this after tonight?
Myself?
Yes.
Yes. I come here, if this is approved tentatively, I come here October 4th, 5th, and 6th for 3 days, and I'm the one who actually will run your focus group meetings, your stakeholder meetings, and all of that. I'll be the person who will give you a presentation at the end of those. On the second night, there'd be a public presentation, and I would present our findings from that short visit. I will be the one who will send that information to RRC and work to develop the first draft of the survey and share it with your team and go back and forth. I'm the project manager, so yeah, this is my project. I'm involved.
Well, I appreciated your no waffle, no BS answers tonight.
That's kind of how I am.
Okay. Any other board questions? Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Now, before we vote on this issue, I do have a lot of cards here. I want to make sure that I didn't miss anybody who had a yellow card filled out on this particular topic that wanted to speak. If there is, raise your hand quickly. Otherwise, okay. Not seeing anybody. Are there anyone make a motion to?
I'll make a motion to authorize the general manager to enter into an agreement with Greenplay LLC to perform a senior and community recreation facility needs study.
Second.
Okay. Oh, you beat me to it. Okay.
Director Magner,
Aye.
Director Malloy,
Aye.
Director Mishler,
Aye.
Director Kelly.
I originally was against spending the money on this particular item. I got somewhat changed a little bit the last time we talked about it. I had some other concerns, which tonight the response by the speakers kind of turned me around again. I'm still concerned about spending money on something I already know we need. But from what I heard tonight, I'm going to go ahead and hopefully make this a unanimous vote. Aye.
Chairman Dixon.
Aye. Okay. Okay, number 8, 8B, update conversion of tennis courts to pickleball courts at Bob Kildee Park. The way I think we're going to now, Bob, do we have a presentation and a video, or just a video, or is I'm sorry, Amy.
Yes, there's a video, a very short video.
And a presentation also. In which order are you going? Okay, because I have speaker cards. There are a couple people who asked if they could make comments before the video. And
Well, I think the public has a video as well. Someone else, I think, has a video. There you go.
oh, you have. Oh, I see. You have your own video.
Yep.
Oh, I see. Okay, so we'll proceed with the board with the district presentation, and go from there. So go ahead.
Good evening, Chairman Dixon, members of the board, and everyone in the audience and TV land. My name is Amy Stewart. I'm the Recreation Services Manager for Pleasant Valley Recreation and Park District, and I will be here talking to you tonight about the potential conversion of tennis courts to pickleball courts within our community, and specifically at Bob Kildee Park. Before I get started, here is a link to a short video. There may be some people, go ahead. There may be some people in this room who have not seen pickleball being played before. There are millions of pickleball videos on the internet, and I just found one. This is about 40 seconds, maybe. So there you go. I don't know if there's anything other than grunts and on this. That's it. You can stop it right there because next is a 35-hit rally. So anyways, so this is pickleball. It looks very similar to tennis. The paddles are a little different. The court size is different. The net is different and the ball is different. However, it's played by all ages. But anyways, I just wanted to show that before I got started. So tonight, staff is requesting the board action. We're requesting that the board review the report and provide direction to us for the potential conversion of tennis courts to pickleball courts located at Bob Kildee Park. And the reason why we did choose Bob Kildee Park is because there are lights at this this tennis area as well, so pickleball can be played in the evening and during the day as well. So I just wanted to point that out.
And also it has plenty of parking and restrooms.
Plenty of parking and newly renovated restrooms too. And a new parking lot, actually. It'll be a new parking lot, so it'll be a great center. The background on this is during the past few years, the district has seen an increase in pickleball players within our community. I remember probably 10 plus years ago at a California Parks and Recreation Society conference that we went to, we actually played pickleball before the craze, and they prepared us and said, be ready, this is going to hit your community at some point. And it did. It started on the East Coast and progressed more to the West. And it's been here for a while, but we are just now recognizing this. Also, the background, the neighboring special districts to our south, and the cities as well surrounding us have seen an increased growth in this sport. The special districts, and I'll mention two of them, Conejo Recreation and Park District and Rancho Simi Recreation and Park District to our south, they have dedicated pickleball courts and also multi-use courts. So they have dedicated outdoor pickleball courts and multi-use outdoor courts and also multi-use indoor courts as well. The analysis for this is to accommodate the growing need for this sport. Staff dedicated 3 days per week to indoor pickleball play at Freedom Gymnasium. And I put the times up here because I know I would get asked and I would forget it. It's 8:30 to 11:30 Mondays and Wednesdays, and Tuesdays from 11 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. And the reason why we did this indoors is because we received so much community feedback at our board meetings, through our community center, getting phone calls, getting people dropping in to our office. You guys have heard it here at our board meetings. So to initially accommodate this, we found time at our indoor gymnasium, and also we started to measure the play and how many players there were. And this is, in our eyes, a brand new sport here in the community. So we really wanted to measure how many people were coming out to play. And on average, we have, I'll say, between 30 to 40 or 45 players per week coming out. Now, we can only measure that for indoor. You notice it's probably off-peak time, so we're maybe not measuring a whole group that's available after work. And then this is also based on people that actually signed in. Okay, so that's where I got those numbers from. In addition, staff met with representatives from both pickleball and tennis. We were directed during a committee meeting to just find out the cost to convert a tennis court to a pickleball court, and also to resurface the existing courts at Bob Kildee Park. Staff made contact with 4 contractors to receive estimates. Currently, when you go to Bob Kildee Park, you will see 2 courts that have this dual court configuration. So the red lines are the tennis courts, or the one tennis court, and the blue lines resemble the pickleball courts. So you can see the dual purpose, and then you can see the difference in the size. So this is one tennis court with a pickleball overlay, and it's a multi-use court, and that's out at Bob Kildee right now. And we have 2 of these courts. This is a 2-court configuration. There are multiple configurations when you change a tennis court to a pickleball court, but this is the one that we are looking at. The tennis court, again, has the red lines. The pickleball has the blue lines. And you can see how 2 pickleball courts will fit on one tennis court nicely without feeling a little crammed. And then also the red line in the middle, the horizontal line, is the tennis net that remains. And that helps with stopping balls from going into the other courts. This is the sign that was put at Bob Kildee Park, which probably many of you have seen and why you're here. So we did this sign in-house, and you can see Bob Kildee courts. There are 6 tennis courts, and on the lower half, outlined in the red, you can see where there was a potential. What we were looking at were the conversion from one tennis court to 2 pickleball courts. So that's a total of 6 pickleball courts. This is just potential, but we wanted to put this out there. Myself, Amy, I'm on the bottom, and then also our recreation supervisor, Lanny Binney. I put both of our contacts on here so you know who you could reach and contact, and we did receive several emails on this, and thank you all for your emails. And I wanted to let you know that those emails were also forwarded to our board, so everyone was able to read those. Okay, the analysis. So in option A, when we made contact with the contractors, option A was to convert just the caged tennis court to 2 permanent pickleball courts. We received estimates that ranged from 7,500 to 14,500, not 50. So we received, that was the range just for the one conversion, and that's 2 permanent pickleball courts. Option B was to convert 3 tennis courts to a total of 6 permanent pickleball courts. And the range was 21,500 to 38,400. These are all permanent. And then option C was to repaint the entire complex. So that's filling the cracks, caulking them, making sure our surface is nice for everyone to play on, keeping 3 dedicated tennis courts and converting the 3 remaining tennis courts to 6 pickleball courts. Now, this was just a cost estimate. This wasn't a formal bid at all. And the estimate range was 41,500 to 56,400. And that's to redo the entire complex at Bob Kildee Park.
And that includes putting in new nets and stuff?
Yes.
For the pickleball?
Yes, this was the permanent nets and poles. At this time, there's no fiscal impact. Today, there's no fiscal impact. However, should you move forward with one of these proposals or direct us in a different direction, there would be a fiscal impact to the capital budget. The recommendation is that you review and provide direction to the staff regarding outdoor pickleball courts. And of course, no report is complete without a staff recommendation. Staff is recommending, of course, that we repair, repaint the entire complex. That complex needs it. We would like to keep at least 3 dedicated tennis courts, convert two tennis courts to 4 pickleball courts, and then keep 1 tennis court for a dual purpose court, and that's for tennis and pickleball. So here you have 2 tennis courts that will be converted to 4 pickleball courts. The 3 remaining tennis courts stay as dedicated tennis. The 1 tennis court is converted, has lines on it, so it becomes tennis and pickleball.
And I guess you would have certain time set up to do each one of those on that 6th one?
Well, without getting into the details of it, there's a lot of options we could do. So what we could do with that, and I'll just give you some examples, and there are plenty of examples, but one is that dual purpose court, we could have portable nets because pickleball players like to play on their appropriate size net, and I understand that. And then also tennis likes to play on their tennis nets as well, and I completely understand that. So one option is, you know, maybe if you wanted to play pickleball and you wanted to use an actual pickleball net, you could either go to the Aquatic Center, which is, Macy, you're the Aquatic Center supervisor. That's why I asked you to stay here. You could go to the Aquatic Center and pick up your portable tennis net, or I'm sorry, your portable pickleball net. Or there's a possibility, and we've seen this work in other districts, where they've locked up the pickleball nets in a lockbox next to the fence, and it's whatever type of key combination code, whatever it is, and when you come to play pickleball, you are able to unlock that box, take out your pickleball net, set them up, play, and then put those back and lock the box again. So that just gives you 2 examples, but you can see there's other ways to make it work.
So Amy, on that 6th court, are you talking about, obviously 1 tennis court, but are you going to have 2 pickleball courts in there, 1 on each side, like the diagram?
That would be ideal, yeah.
So that's what you're talking about. Okay.
And there is a fence that goes between the courts where the pickleball would be versus where the dedicated tennis courts are. So see where it says pickleball courts and you see that shading right below tennis 654. That's a fence right there.
Correct.
So the balls won't.
And we've had some community feedback from tennis
Mike,
groups.
I'm sorry. Why don't we let her finish the presentation, and we'll make our comments afterwards. So we can just kind of move forward.
So this is the staff recommendation for the 6 courts out at Bob Kildee Park. So this is the end of the report or the presentation. We're happy to answer any questions. I think Mary and I can tag team it, and then any questions you have.
So that was the end, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
we're at the end.
Okay. I guess the question, there's, I have kind of two thoughts on this. I think it might be useful for the board to hear from the public and then have our discussion afterwards, because I think what you guys all have to say will influence what additional questions we might have and thoughts we might have on it. So maybe we'll move forward with the public comments at this time. And if I would be interested if anybody has any particular thoughts on the idea of dual-purpose courts where you have lines painted over lines, and what tennis players or pickleball players think of that, as opposed to having purely dedicated courts. But there are apparently someone has a video out there. Is that correct? And how long is that video? 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Okay, we'll give you the 33 seconds. And there are some people who asked specifically to talk before the video, I think. Is there after the video? Oh no, I guess was there anyone who wanted to speak before the video? No, let's go ahead with the video then.
I'll just introduce myself quickly. I'm Lynn Zakis, and I just I happened to find this video from CBS. I thought it'd be interesting. I'm through.
Daily exercise is to good health. It can be challenging, though, to find an activity that keeps you coming back day after day. But early show special contributor Taryn Winterbrill is here with the story of a fun sport that is getting people off the couch and outside. Great to have you with us, Taryn.
Good morning, Rebecca. I'm obsessed with this game. It's changed my life, let me tell you. It's the sport with the funny name. It's called pickleball, and it's a craze that is sweeping the nation. Just like me, from the moment you give it a shot, you'll be hooked.
Part tennis, part ping pong, and part badminton, pickleball is one of the fastest growing sports in America. It got its unusual name over 40 years ago from a Cocker Spaniel named Pickles, who used to chase down balls hit by the game's inventor.
So how many pickleball courts do you have here?
We have 108 courts in the villages.
Here at the Villages in Central Florida, the pickleball capital of the world.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, Karen. I'm Coach Mo. Right before.
Lifelong tennis coach turned pickleball coach Mo Session
Elbows out in front of you.
Has promised to school me on the finer points of a game devotees call addictive.
Good shot.
Like many fanatics, almost all of Mo's days begin and end with 2 hours of pickleball.
I got it. As long as you're playing with 3 people of equal ability, doesn't matter how good you are, you'll have a fun time.
Played on a surface 1/3 that of a tennis court and using many of the same rules, this sport is low impact and easier on the joints. One of the main reasons older players are drawn to it. Joanne and Dennis Ash are 70s.
Good game.
Do you guys normally play as a team or as opponents?
Either or.
Opponents. Do you kick his butt?
Always.
But pickleball isn't just for old-timers.
It's sort of a multi-generational game. The whole family can play.
Yes.
After some more instruction from Coach Mo,
you guys ready to go down?
I was ready for a pickleball throwdown.
Good shot. The ball gets tough, the puck goes forward.
And you could hear as the 15-minute game got going, I was pretty out of breath. Getting plenty of exercise, no doubt.
What a 61.
I love this game.
Just give it a try and you'll be hooked on that sweet sport with the sour name.
Taste of victory.
I I love this game. We had so much fun. I'm a pickleball nut, literally. Coach Mo came home from Arizona last month with a silver medal, get this, from the National Pickleball Tournament. And these days, he's got plenty of competition because according to the USA Pickleball Association, that's the USAPA, there are more than 100,000 active players, myself included.
100,000.
It's growing, yes.
It is growing.
Yeah.
And you used to play tennis, so how does this compare?
Right, okay. I love tennis, but I super love pickleball. Here's the deal. I played doubles in high school, and I would be very scared at net because that ball would be wailed at me.
Sure.
So this is a much lighter ball. It makes a great sound.
It's not going to hurt you.
It's not going to hurt you, and the rallies last a lot longer because it's such a light ball. It's a smaller court, and there's not much surface to run around.
And it looks like it's less expensive, too, than tennis.
It is. Actually, go to the usapa.org, which is linked to our website, and you can buy all the equipment. It's about, I'd say, $20 for a wooden racket. This is composite. It's about $50 to $60. The balls are a few bucks, but it is so much fun, Rebecca. I cannot. It's like I said, it's
you
changed
make it
my
look
life.
like a lot of fun.
I am addicted. I mean, this piece was about 2 minutes or so. We were playing for 5 hours. We had to go catch a plane, and I was like, no, I want to stay.
Well, we're so glad you brought it here to us, Taryn Winterbrill. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. Next card would be Trish Zakis.
Okay, my name is Trish, and I serve two purposes in the pickleball community. I am the new contract instructor for the Parks and Rec Department here, and I will be teaching pickleball classes starting just about October, the end of September. This is what a real pickleball and a real paddle look like. If you want to take a look at it, I've got it. There was one error that was in that video. It's true there are 100,000 players, but those are the ones that are registered with the USPTA, which is the equivalent of the Tennis Association. There are approximately 2.5 million pickleball players across the country, and I got that from the official website this afternoon. The other hat that I wear for pickleball is that of the webmaster for our pickleball website. We have CamarilloPickleball.com is a website that we have put up, and I would ask you to visit it if you have some time. The two courts that we are currently using, the multi-use courts, are not good at all for teaching, and it makes it very difficult for the students to learn. In a normal pickleball court, you will have 10 or 12 feet behind you, so when the ball goes past you, you just turn around and it's 10 feet. We've got probably 30 feet to the back fence, and so when we're doing classes, we've got balls flying all over, and the students are going to be spending an inordinate amount of time just retrieving the ball so that we can continue to do our drills. There are 22 or 23 tennis courts here in Camarillo, I believe, and turning 3 of them into pickleball courts, 6 pickleball courts, would be the equivalent of what Newberry Park has just put in. They have a facility where they have 6 new courts, and a lot of our players are going over the hill and playing over there because the facilities are just ever so much better than what we have here in Camarillo right now. I think that pretty well sums up what I have to say in case there's any questions.
Thank you. Okay. Jerry Shern.
Thank you. What I'd like to talk about is I live on Eston Street and have been affected by the park for years and have seen it grow and into our great park that it is today. And one thing that we need to think about is with growth also comes noise. We have handball court, boys and girls club, baseball fields, and now we have pickleball, pickle racquetball, and which is a great game. I'll probably end up playing it myself, but it is noisy, as you heard in the video. I think it's quite a bit noisier than tennis is. And we have, with the tennis players, we already have a little problem in the area, and thinking of bringing all the people in that was just mentioned, the amount of people that now play paddleball or pickleball. We're having problems with parking. And a lot of the people, I'm glad to hear that there is a new parking lot, because now the tennis players park in front of my house. When the garbage man comes, he can't get my garbage cans, and he's written me notes and says, please move your garbage cans out further. Also, the next day, the street sweeper comes by, and he can't sweep both sides of the roads because there's 8 or 9 cars with the tennis players. And so hopefully that will alleviate the problem we have in that sense. And the baseball park, this is kind of an environmental thing, causes so much dust in our area that I have to dust my house 3 times a week, and it's still I could dust it 5 times a week, and there's so much dust. It also blows onto the tennis courts, and some of the players have their own leaf blowers, and there's also groundsmen that keep the courts clean too. And when they blow, guess where it goes? Right across the street into our houses. And with the noise, sometimes with all the noise that we hear from the clubs and the ball and everything, I have to shut all my windows and the front door because it's so noisy. And I've been an athlete all my life, and I understand what that entails, and I really don't have a problem with it. I have a degree in recreation and a master's degree in recreation education. I've done some park planning and facilities. And what we need is a barrier. And also the baseball field, they need to learn how to take care of a field. They screen it, which is the infield, which keeps the dust down. They water it, and they don't do that. So that's one of the problems we have environmentally. My granddaughter, when she comes over to my house, she starts coughing, sneezing, runny eyes, and when we go somewhere else, she's fine. And I have quite a bit more, but my time is up. So I want the Pickles to know I'm not against it. It's a great game. But I would like to look at the environmental situation with the parking, and hopefully that parking lot will take care of it. And the main problem I'm concerned about is the dust from the baseball diamonds, 4 or 5 that they have, and it blows down through our houses. And they cut down a whole group of trees by the tennis court, and there's nothing in there. We have weeds grow, and it gets ugly. Then they come take them out, and then within a month they're back. So hopefully they can put some flowers or maybe the barrier in there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Walt Keynes.
Good evening. My name is Walt Keynes, and I'm just one of the pickleball players. And I've been playing for the last couple of years and have been in contact and engaged with our Rexon Park District trying to get better pickleball facilities here within our community. And so, again, it's been a slow process over the 2 years. And Ms. Otten can probably tell you exactly how many regulation tennis courts we have here in town. But the fact is we do not have any regulation pickleball courts. We do have the 2. They are out at the gymnasium. The lines are there. The service line is very close, within, less than a foot of the back where the wall is. And it's an uncomfortable position. The court size is not regulation insofar as the way the stripes are. The lines that were put on the tennis courts out at Bob Kildee were in the configuration where they put pickleball lines over a tennis court. A tennis net cannot be utilized for pickleball except in dividing 2 courts. So the configuration that you saw where you can convert 1 tennis court to 2 pickleball courts and have the tennis net separating the 2 pickleball courts is accurate. But to try to use a tennis net, which is higher off the ground and much wider, it does not conform for pickleball use. In a regulation court, you're able to play around the net, and if the net extends several feet beyond the court, it's not a regulation net, and it's not the right way to go. So I would strongly recommend that the board look at option C, and that is where they put 2 pickleball courts on each of the tennis courts on the south side there, which would be away from the tennis players that enjoy the use of the north 3 courts. And again, the nets do not conform, so when the staff made their recommendation, and Amy, that 3rd court, was that going to be 1 or 2 pickleball courts? It would be 2 painted on, so there would be, I don't understand how you would get 2 pickleball nets on a single court to be used for tennis and or pickleball. It doesn't work. And so you can't have 3 nets out there where a pickleball player can use it and a tennis court can use it. The nets that we have out there that we're using now don't work. They're too tall, they're too wide, and again, it's a mistake. So please look at option C, and that would be my recommendation. And if you build it, we'll fill it. And as mentioned before, the condition of the courts and the nets out there are horrendous. They need to be resurfaced. They need to have the proper nets put out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Nancy Orr.
Good evening, Chairman Dixon and board members and my tennis friends and my pickleball friends. I was a tennis player for many years and still occasionally go out, but had a few injuries. Thanks to the Parks and Recs district, we had the Freedom Park gym opened up, and my husband went out and played and said, I think you'd really like this. So I went out once, and I was on Amazon that night ordering a pickleball racket, or paddle. It's really, really fun, very addictive, easier to pick up than tennis. So I think the kids 8, 9, 10 would be able to play it without going to several tennis lessons. Let's see, you've already heard about the beautiful Newberry Park courts. Occasionally my husband and I will go over on Wednesdays to Freedom Park, and it's busy, so we head out to Newberry Park and usually can pick up a game. Pickleball is very social. There's a lot of just pickup games. You don't necessarily need 4 people. You just head out there, and there's players that invite you in. Having more than 2 courts is important, because if you only have 2 courts available, then you have one group on one court, or it just doesn't work with the pickup games as much. Out at Newberry Park, you've got the advanced players on one court, so you can see my husband will go over there, and I'll go in, a little more intermediate court. And and I understand the tennis players. I used to be a tennis player, and it's very frustrating waiting for a court. But right now, we can only play 9 hours a week in Camarillo, basically on courts that work. And so that basically, if we want to introduce our friends to it on the weekends, we can't do that unless we drive them out to Newberry Park. So that's all. It's really fun, and I invite everyone out to come and try it, because it is very addictive, and you run out of breath a lot more than you would think you would. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Casey Cece. Right.
CC Casey.
CC Casey.
Hi. Good evening, board members. My name is Susie Casey. And I think it very appropriate that we're here today discussing the use of the tennis courts at Bob Kildee Park, as millions of people are watching the Tennis U.S. Open. Tennis is a sport that anybody can play. It's for all ages. It's a growing sport, and it's one you can play for a lifetime. In the recently released U.S. Sports, Fitness, and Recreation Participation Report from the Physical Activity Council, tennis continues to lead the pack in long-term participation growth. So many of us have been coming down to Bob Kildee Park for decades. And I know for myself, I've been in the drop-in tennis court for many years. And people in the community, in the tennis community, know that we're here, and we welcome them. And we want to keep that spirit of welcoming to continue. I presented a diagram to you at the last board meeting of why it's important to have those 3 tennis courts and the structure in which we play. And I have to say, one day, several months ago, we were playing, and most of us are seniors. I would say 99% of us are seniors. And we were playing, and some gentlemen came up with the buckets of paint. And we didn't know what was going on. And they moved us aside, and they painted these pickleball courts. And we felt at the time just very dismissed and very disrespected. There was nothing posted, nothing for us to understand why that was happening. So I just want to say that after that, we contacted the Parks and Rec and the pickleball players, and we sat down and we had a discussion. Dawn and I met. And the pickleball players discussed that they wanted the caged area, court number 3, for 2 pickleball courts. The Parks and Rec mentioned that they would like to have multifunctional courts. We feel that 1 and 2 would be a great way to turn those into multifunctional courts. And we would like to maintain courts 4, 5, and 6 for tennis use only. So we sent forth a proposal on the 18th to Mary and others and put forth our proposal, and that was keeping 4, 5, and 6 for tennis use only, the caged area for 2 pickleball courts, and multi-use tennis courts for 1 and 2. And we want to keep as many tennis courts as we can. I walk my dog on the weekends, and those tennis courts are filled with people coming down to play, those that work during the week and those that go to school and have classes. All ages come down and play, and they're full. They bring their families. It's good recreation time, a good way to keep fit, have fun, and enjoy a good growing sport. So please, seriously consider our proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill Hallfish.
My name is Bill Hallfish, and I'm a tennis player. I've been playing for about 20 years. I've found some old rosters, a 2004 roster that had 49 people listed, a 2006 roster that had 44 people listed, and a current roster, which unfortunately is not dated, but I believe is about a year old, and it has 32 people listed. All of those people, of course, don't play at the same time. Some come in and go out. I'm 82 years old. I've been playing there since about year 2000. Maybe I'll be a dedicated pickleball player soon, but at the moment I'm enjoying playing tennis with this group. I believe that the multi-purpose court lines that we have on those 2 courts, 4 and 5, they're really confusing. And when the sun glares, it is. And I'm glad to hear that the pickleball players don't care for that either. So if you can convert that caged area to 2 pickleball courts, I think that's a great solution for dedicated courts. Only disadvantage I see to that is it does not provide a caged area for new kids. And I say kids because the younger kids, when they start whacking the ball and they're just trying to learn how to play the game, the ball goes all over the place. And so the cage is a good idea for that purpose. But it doesn't affect me because I'm beyond that. But the multi-purpose just doesn't seem to work. And I certainly would support the 4, 5, and 6 being dedicated tennis. If if you insist on having 3 dedicated or 3 or more tennis courts converted, convert the cage and go ahead and convert those other 2 courts 1 to 2. I would also ask you as a sidelight, don't forget there's 2 other things or 3 other things you need to make sure you keep in mind. The court surfaces are terrible. We've mentioned that. There's a large tree down by that wall at the north end of Court 6 that is a very messy tree. It's gotten huge. It needs to be grossly trimmed. The people, when they blow and clean, they don't do a very good job under that tree, and they never clean the corner of the tennis court, number 6, of which the debris comes down. Also, the fencing needs attention. The bottom mechanism that was originally put in to keep the fencing down on the ground so the balls don't go underneath, that fencing needs attention also. So appreciate the time to give you my opinion.
Thank you. Karen Riggin.
Thank you guys for all being here and listening to all of this. And I'd like to say that it's really friendly over at the tennis courts. I only started playing tennis when I retired, and I'm not like some of these other people who've been playing forever. But I've also been welcomed to play pickleball, and they're friendly too, so I'm glad that we have that atmosphere. But it really is important that we keep the tennis courts, that we have those, the 3 that you're talking about providing solely for tennis, because we really need those. We use those. We're there almost every morning. The pickleball courts, if you could do that option where you had the one that was it shifted and you had that open courts, because a lot of times, as Cece says, over the weekend the whole courts are being used by tennis players. That would be great. I won't go into some of the things that I said about how unhappy I was about the day that they came and they changed everything without our having a chance to have input. I know that you know about that and that you're dealing with it now. I hope that you please redo those courts, because they're really dangerous the way they are. There's deep cracks, and we're always almost falling over them, and some of the people do fall. We have some players that are 90 years old. So, you know, it's a wide range, and they need repaired. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Donald Mingay.
As my colleagues have previously stated, the courts are in terrible condition, and especially court number 6, where the tennis balls go under the fence and so forth. But we play on a daily basis there, and there's we always notice that there's other kids who come, the teenagers come and play on the other courts. They're not part of our group. Our group usually occupies all three tennis courts, and fathers bring their teenage kids, and there's other adults who come and also play on those courts who are not part of our group. So the tennis courts are always being used. And to convert them to pickleball, right, like they have 2 already, it's very, very difficult for us to play tennis because we can't see the lines. The lines are sort of just, you can't concentrate on the line. So we would like everything to stay, or we like the 3 to be all tennis courts, and the other 2, we'd like 2 to be multifunctional. And number 3 court can be changed for pickleball. 2 pickleball courts. And we would hope that you would consider that. Thank you.
Thank you. Patty Bayman.
Patty Bayman, 2190 El Rancho Drive in Camarillo. Mr. Chairman, fellow board members, and staff, I'm Patty Bayman, a dedicated Camarillo pickleball player, and I'd like to invite the Park Council and staff to an informal first anniversary celebration of the Camarillo Pickleball Group, at which we're about 55 players right now. We'll be having cake and punch at 10 a.m. on Wednesday, September 13th at the Freedom Gym during our Wednesday court time. It'd be a fun way to show appreciation for players like Walt Cairns and Ralph Wilson and others who've worked hard to get Camarillo pickleball where it is today, and keeping all the players informed on the progress made on our quest for dedicated outdoor pickleball courts. And also recognize Trish and Lynn Zakis for the Camarillo pickleball website. We hope to see you there. Thank you.
Patty, time and date again, please.
Wednesday, September 13th at 10 a.m.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And Linda Fox.
Hi, my name is Linda Fox, and I live directly across the street over there. I live directly across the street from the tennis courts, and it would just, there's a lot of noise with pickleball, and nobody's really thinking about the homes that were there before everything, before, I've been there since the 60s, before the park, and there's already a lot of noise. But I know across the street from us, the 4 and 5 have marks on it for the pickleball, and I was wondering, why it's like, directly across the street from us, because it's very noisy. Some people have been over there to play, and it is noisy. So, I mean, if they have pickleball, it should be, over closest to the pool, like 1 and 2. But even that third is, that's too close to the homes because it is noisy. And, you can just hear the pop, pop, pop or ping, ping, ping. You can just, it is just too noisy. I mean, unless a proposal could be for, I don't know if you can still hear me, a sound wall or something, because as Jerry said, directly across the street, well, directly where the tennis courts are, they took out the trees from us. It was really, they say they were diseased, but they just were doing that because of the leaves in the tennis courts, really. And because there's trees on this side and trees on that side. But they're definitely, if they're going to have pickleball, they need to have like a sound wall or something, because there are, we all live there, and the noise gets, it gets noisy. So I hope you, consider and think of the people that live on Eston Street, because, the proposal is to do all this, but nobody's thinking of, the people that live there and what we have to listen to, because there's, we enjoy the whole, the whole park thing, but it does get pretty noisy over there with everything, because you've got, everything going on, the skate park, the handball courts, the baseball, mostly, the baseball gets pretty crazy, but I think 1 and 2, but 3 is too close, and I still wonder why 4 and 5 has marks on it, because that's directly across the street from us, and it is too noisy. So just to kind of give you an input on that. Do you have any questions?
No. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, that's the last card I have. Now, is there anyone else in the audience that did not fill out a card that would like 3 minutes to go ahead.
Thank you. I'm Len Zakis again. The discussion about the portable nets, they do work, and that's what we use over at Freedom Park. And I think it might help to explain them. They can be packaged. It's about a soft carton about this much, but they weigh about 22 to 25 pounds. And in Santa Monica, for example, they have facilities close enough that they actually don't disassemble it all the time. They actually carry it around. It's not real heavy, but so you can actually lift it up and 2 people on each end and carry it from one building, to another, from the courts out to another building. But when you talk about the portable nets, you have to kind of be careful because you have to figure out where to put them and lock them up, and then only people who have the combination have the lock. And so they're the only ones who can play. And running back and forth to the aquatic center with these portable nets, carrying them around is kind of iffy. And I just wanted to share that. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, thank all of you for being here tonight and your comments. And it's obviously an issue where there is no solution that is going to satisfy everyone, but we'll go ahead with our board discussion and move from there. So, Mike, I cut you off, and I'll let you pick up from here.
The first question I have for staff is, and this is going to sound stupid, but I've obviously seen on tennis court fences, Bob, maybe if I don't know, you or Matt or somebody can help me on this, or I don't know if Amy knows. I've seen screens, and they're mainly for wind reduction on tennis court fences, of course. Do they make a sound type, reducing screen or something cover that you can put up on a fence to try to help? I don't know if Lanny's back there. He's. I don't know if anybody has any ideas on that, or do you know anything about that?
I know there's different thicknesses and different material, but I don't know of any that say that they're sound proof or sound deadening. But I know there's different thicknesses that you can purchase and different material.
Amy's correct, is that usually most of those wind screens are wind screens. I mean, it may get a little bit, but it's not.
Yeah, I wasn't saying to put a windscreen up.
No.
My question was,
Yep.
do they make it, in place of a windscreen, do they actually make an actual material that you can put up the same way that is actually physically designed to capture with kind of restrict the sound? That's my question.
There is, I'm going to for a second, but there is. I just happened to have recently had contact with someone whose business is specifically the business of creating sound barriers, and it's an engineering company. And I don't know exactly what what they could create for this environment, but apparently they get called into all kinds of situations where they block sounds of construction and target practice and all kinds of things. So I imagine there are products. Now the only question is what would they cost, but I'm sure there is something.
Okay, I'm just saying. So one question that off the top of my head with the noise factor, especially since we have fences on 3 sides around that one option court number 3 there. Yeah, court 3, I guess, potentially. If there's something that you can do with, it's a question for staff.
Is there someone out there that had particular knowledge on this subject? Okay. Quick, if you could quickly, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, come up here so we can hear you. No, if you can speak real loud from there. Okay. All right.
No, actually, you really need to be at the microphone because the TV audience can't hear you if you don't speak in the microphone. So I don't want you to ruin our TV ratings. So.
On doing the research that I did on the sound, on the decibels and whatever, pickleball, the decibels are 6 point, have been studied to be 6 point. And to let you know, Camarillo City, the maximum is 5.0 for sound. And in doing the research on it, there is a company that actually does make a sound barrier and I don't remember the name of the company, but you can actually look it up on the internet. And
So maybe you can contact Amy later as a follow-up, and Pat, if you have that
If I can
information.
find the information.
If you have it, thank you.
Or we can find it, yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
I'm sorry, did you also have something to comment on this?
oh, I'm sorry.
Could you come up?
I just Googled, and there's such a thing as called AQUATIC, and it reduces pickleball noise by more than 50%. And it's just like the gentleman said, it does look like a screen here, but it's a thicker version, so apparently there is something, if that helps.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
The second question I have, and this is nice to have the diagram up here, and Amy, you or I'm not sure who can help me. The handball courts are up there. They're not used that much now. Am I mistaken? I mean, I've gone by. Oh, you like them? Oh yeah, tennis players play on them. Oh, okay. I just want to make sure. I'm glad you guys are here. Okay. Well, I was going to, at one point, think about if they could put something out in front there, but that would be terrible. Okay, so that's a bad idea. So I'm glad you folks are here to straighten me out on that one. Thank you very much. Yeah. So the main, and I'm kind of leaning to if we want to do, I'm kind of leaning toward the case, court 3, and then maybe 1 and 2 could be a dual use thing where it's really designed for pickleball with the 2 courts, but then have a portable maybe coming in or something. I don't know, but I'm kind of hesitant going forward until I hear maybe more on a noise screen or what the cost is, or is that an option? Does that actually work or something? But anyway, I'm just telling you where I'm coming from.
Okay.
Thank you.
Elaine?
I'm lost.
That's why you get paid so much for this job.
I'm trying to visualize the street so I can look at the sound thing. We took down the trees, but weren't they tall trees? Didn't we have eucalyptus there?
Yes,
So that wasn't really a sound barrier.
probably a little bit. Nothing much though.
I mean, I've spent a lot of time at Kildee. You understand that?
Yes.
Okay. I just didn't realize that was that much of a sound barrier, and I didn't know if we could plant plants through there or shrubbery or something that's not going to be a catch-all for graffiti. Because those sound areas, that's just a graffiti blank canvas in my mind.
Yes.
I'm just thinking if we can put something live through there, and I know we're trying to keep down our costs for watering and things, but I have an issue with the sounds too, but, so that's just kind of something I was thinking about. If we do with C, Amy, please help me, that would keep 4 and 5, right? Or 4, 5, and 6 as tennis courts.
Correct.
Okay. And that would make the cage, which is 3, that would be a converted one, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then please tell me again what 4 and 5 would be. 4 would be?
So on the top where it says tennis courts.
I'm with you.
The 6, 5, and 4, those are dedicated tennis.
Okay.
On the lower part where it says pickleball courts, all the way to the right, PB3, that's the cage. That would be a permanent 2 pickleball courts.
Okay.
PB2, right there, that would also be a dedicated 2 dedicated pickleball courts. And what I mean by that is that those red dotted lines are permanent pickleball nets.
Okay.
Okay, so they're permanent.
Okay.
PB1 becomes that dual purpose court that can be used as tennis and pickleball. And how that would work, and I'm glad that Walt brought that up so I can clarify that again, is that could only be a dual purpose court is if someone has a portable net that they can put there, which we could, and we can figure those details out later, whether we have a trunk that's locked, we do where you can pull out the portable pickleball nets and set that up. There's options where they could get the pickleball nets from the aquatic center. If weight is a problem, we could have staff set them up. You could see there's a lot of options there, but PB1 would be the dual purpose court.
Okay. Is the caged-in area large enough for 3 pickleball courts going the other direction? No?
No, I think when you turn them sideways, the fences will be too close.
Oh, the fence would be too close. Okay.
We explored that option with pickleball,
Okay.
and they didn't.
Okay.
Didn't work.
I'm just asking. I've got a vision, and I'm like sure what goes. Okay. Go ahead. I may have something else.
Mark?
Oh, yeah, I want to make sure. So on PB2, where we're going to have permanent pickleball courts, we'll still leave the tennis net in the ground because the
Yes.
tennis net helps keep the pickleball team on the north side off the pickleball, out of the court of the pickleball. So they'll still be there should, for some reason, this not work out and nobody ever comes to play pickleball and we want to convert them back to tennis. We'll have the tennis courts net still there.
The net is
But
there, but the lines won't be.
Right.
The tennis line.
But the pickleball players won't use that net. They'll use the net that's the right size. I can see where we got in trouble with this, trying to sort of work into it, and just made a lot of really not workable choices for everyone. And not talking to the people that have been there 4 mornings a week for 20 years, and I know you've been there because I used to spend a lot of time there. That wasn't the smartest move either, and we apologize and want to make it well. I actually went out and looked at the courts because I wanted to see what the condition was, and I met a lot of the people, and I got to tell you, I was absolutely amazed at the prowess of seniors playing tennis. I had no idea seniors could be so athletic and so skilled and have such endurance. I mean, you guys were really impressive. I mean, it's a really, really special level of what's going on there, and we absolutely want to protect that. As I see it, the temporary nets at PB1 are only going to be requested when we already have 4 courts of pickleball full of pickleball players, and more pickleball players want to play, and there's no tennis players there already playing tennis. So that 4th court sort of by default becomes tennis first and pickleball maybe, because we'll have to find some way to go get the nets. And okay, that's way more acceptable to me as far as trying to meet the needs of everybody. One of the places where I know there's always going to be difficulty is when somebody has used a certain place for many years. To us, we have 23 or 22 tennis courts, but to you, this is the one you want to play at, and you've played at it and you don't want to change. I understand that, but I hope you understand that we're trying to respond to the overall needs of the community, and sometimes that requires some compromise. And because of the nature of the other amenities that are available at this place, you can't have activities that go on very long without a restroom. And you can't have activities that attract a lot of people without parking lots. And, so some of those things, we only really have 2 places that could happen. And the courts at Mission Oaks Park are very full of tennis players. And and we have the divider nets up and all that sort of stuff. So this is really the appropriate place to do it. And I think the way staff has worked into it here makes a lot of sense development-wise. But I also like the way that it gives people the game they need and the game they want, but also retains some flexibility for other uses of the court. So I'm supportive of the proposal that Amy made. The noise thing, I used to play tennis, and every time I'd serve, I'd grunt and make this horrible noise, and I used to have people complain about it, and it was awfully rackety. But I can also see at pickleball, it gets hit more frequently, so I can see, especially when you have multiple courts, that's a lot of those little pinging sounds. So, I see that problem too. And I also know that when you live next to Bob Kildee Park, you live next to a lot of park activity. It's a really busy park. So I worry about the the graffiti issue too, but we could grow foliage up the outside of the chain link fence and have the sound barrier on the inside of it, and that would pretty much protect it from graffiti from the outside. And graffiti is not as rewarding to those that paint graffiti unless it can be seen by a lot of people. So once you turn it inside, you kind of take some of their fun away, and I suspect we'll have a lot less problems if we protect it from the outside with foliage, and they could only actually paint it on the inside. But whatever it is, it's going to have to be able to be serviceable, because graffiti is a part of having parks. So
it is,
and that's just one of the expenses that we have to be in the business of. But I definitely can see appropriateness for some upgrade on the sound that we didn't talk about. But I suspect it's not an unreasonable cost, and but that would all be part of the bid process when we get forward on this. But I'm willing to support the 3 tennis only, 2 PB 2 and 3 pickleball only, and PB 1 a defaultive tennis court, but the ability to put 2 nets in the ground and play pickleball.
Option C. Then.
Option. Yeah, that's the last option Amy provided. So,
Bob.
Searching for mysteries. Without any clues. I went out there today and checked out the tennis courts, and at 3:30 there was not a single soul out there. So I'm assuming that a lot of the activity takes place in the morning and on the weekends. Would I be correct in that assumption? Yeah, that's another one. Like a few days ago, I'm sure there wasn't anyone out there.
Jerry just said that's not true, and who lives there?
Well, I'm glad to hear there's some hardy souls out there braving that heat, because I wouldn't have. One of the things that I've noticed tonight listening to this, I don't know a lot about pickleball. My in-laws played it down in the South Bay area, and so I've known about it for a couple of years. And one of the things that they have told me is they were really into it. They had all this great equipment, and they played all the time. And now they don't play anymore. So I asked them, I said, are people still playing? They said, yeah. It's kind of a recycling type of a sport, where some people play it for a while, they get really into it, like racquetball, and then they grow tired of it, or they get injured or whatever, and then new people come along and pick it up. So it seems like it has been pretty steady. One of the problems I think we've had here is if we did something here that we don't normally do. We had a group who came in one night at one of our meetings and asked to do pickleball. Well, nobody here knew much about pickleball, but somehow pickleball all of a sudden became was being played, and we were providing a court or two, some kind of makeshift court, from what I understand. And now we hear tonight. Normally, what we would have done, we would have waited, and we would have introduced it slowly so that we could get a better gauge on what the interest in that sport was. Frankly, I'm astounded that the tennis players are just behaving in such a compromising fashion. If I had been a tennis player and somebody showed up and started painting lines on my courts that I've been playing on for years and years, I would have blown a gasket. I would have, in fact, gotten right in my car and gone down to the Park and Rec District and started raising hell. So the fact that they are willing to give up some of their courts to pickleball, I'm proud to be a member of this community that has people like that in it. Because I probably wouldn't be like that. I don't like the idea, and most people who know me know this already. I don't like these kinds of multi-purpose courts where you're playing 2 different kinds of sports on the same field with lines that are. I went out there and looked at those lines today, and I thought, this is horrific. This should never have been done like this. and either for pickleball or for tennis. It's just not good. Will tell you that I'm not against pickleball and for tennis or vice versa. I don't know which way this should go because, frankly, I don't think we have enough information yet to know. I'm kind of the opinion that maybe we should have two dedicated pickleball courts and then revisit this issue in a year and see if we need more. That gives people a chance to observe, mostly us and staff, hear from I mean, I didn't get one email from anybody who wanted us to do anything on this particular project. And my email is out there for everybody. I announce it all the time. You can go to the Park and Rec and they'll give you my personal email so you can email me. And some people have done that. But I didn't hear anything on this. I think it's a little early to be doing multi-court changes from tennis to pickleball, although I'm not saying that maybe isn't the appropriate thing to do. I just think I personally need more information than that. The other thing is this whole noise issue. This was brought up tonight, and I heard a little bit. I guess I heard something on that video. But can somebody let me see what one of those rackets looks like with a ball?
Hit it.
We're up here making decisions, and I've never even held one.
Are you going to embarrass yourself now?
No.
Buddy?
Oh, so it's a wiffle ball. Doesn't bounce it.
No, you're not supposed to.
Doesn't bounce. No.
Okay.
I think.
No, I used to be a major league wiffle ball player. And so I kind of got the idea of once I felt the ball in my hand, what kind of noise it would make, because we used to use a plastic bat and hit that same kind of ball. So I could see, as Director Malloy pointed out, there's like a lot of hitting taking place at a very fast rate. And so I could see the people across the street on certain days, especially maybe when the wind's coming in, that there would be a lot of noise. The whole idea of the cage, I went out there and the cage, I didn't remember exactly where it was, and I'm not that good at looking stuff up like this on the internet, so I went out there, and the cage, as I understand it, is right across the street from the houses, is it not? And so while I'm thinking that might be the very best place to put a couple of pickleball courts, having it right across the street and dealing with the noise complaints is something. We used to have people who would come in every month because we had a basketball court that was too close to the houses, and it was a difficult situation for us. I don't even really know what happened. Did we take the rim down? I think we did. And so what I would be for is to do, and only because the tennis people are so compromising, is to put in a couple of pickleball courts, first class. See how they do. If there's more interest and it's demonstrated to us, then we have to revisit the issue. And then everyone will be advised of that, and everyone will know that, and maybe go along that route. I don't think I'm going to go for number 3. That was the one that it was. How much were we going to spend on that, Amy?
$41,500 to $56,400, but that also included resurfacing all the tennis courts.
Yes, but as the people tonight pointed out, the fencing, or I don't know if you would call that fencing, but the barriers, the cyclone barriers, are in bad shape. And some of the bars that go along the bottom of that to hold that fencing down are actually totally dislodged. And we definitely, if we're going to do anything, we need to take care of that, because both groups need that taken care of. Let's see if I have anything else. the tennis people brought this subject up. I went out and looked at that surface, and maybe I'm not an expert in tennis. I used to play back in my high school days. The surface does have some cracks in it, but I don't think, being a personal injury lawyer, I don't think I would call it unsafe. So what am I missing? Obviously, I am missing something. It looks like we could fill some cracks and then paint over it, and it would be maybe not perfect, but okay.
Here.
Well, what I would really want to know is if the cracks that are there now were the same ones that got repaired before. That's the first. That would tell me that the repairs that were done it was inevitable that they were going to occur again, and that the repair that we do needs to be something more permanent than that. That's what it would tell me. I'd just like to close. This type of thing is one of the reasons I like being a board member so much, is people coming in with great ideas. They have a passion for something, and they're willing to take the time out of their day and evening, especially you tennis people. I mean, I'm going home to watch the tennis.
Federer got beat, so.
I think why did you tell me that?
I'm sorry.
And so I'm sure that there's some way to work this out. How we do that is, to me, the jury's still out on that. I didn't mean to do that. No, don't do that. I just thought he was going to ask me something.
Thank the board again for the time that you're allowing to receive.
Sir, I'm not really. I was just going to take a question from so you don't get any more time.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
But you can go ahead now that you're up there.
If you have a quick, yeah. If you have a quick comment, go ahead. Go ahead.
The Recreation and Parks has now initiated that we're going to have pickleball instruction, which is going to greatly increase the amount of players now that that's offered in our next program. We've also got a lot of people signing up that are new, that are not part of our 50-plus people that were already signed up. The last Wednesday that I played out at the gym, we had over 20 people there with 2 courts. Each court will only accommodate 4 players. So to do 1 court, I think is a big mistake. I think if I may suggest, is leave court 1 alone, make court 2 and 3 pickleball courts, and we would have 4 courts, which would serve most of our needs right now. Most of the noise complaints come when you use a wooden paddle, which is the down and dirty cheap one that the parks gave us to use out there. Most folks buy the newer rackets that are made out of a different material. They're quieter. The newer balls are also a newer material, and some of the pickleball associations are recommending, in order to keep the noise down, for the use of the newer paddle and the newer balls, and it greatly reduces the amount of noise that the wooden paddle has on the older hard plastic ball.
Right.
So that's another thing to consideration. But if you go over to Del Prado, you'll see that they have 2 dedicated pickleball courts. They have a tennis court adjoining that, and then they have the nets that come out and turn it into 2 pickleball courts. And when that wasn't adequate is when they just completed their new 6 courts out there, because it's so popular.
Okay, thank you.
But right now, we probably wouldn't need to use that court 1. If we had 4 pickleball courts, that would get us by.
All right. I'm sorry to cut you off, but we need to keep moving. So, okay. Bob, are you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay.
I just got a comment on a personal injury lawyer saying that that's not a tripping hazard. I mean, that's quite.
I must not have seen what you saw.
Yeah.
But I didn't go through every court. I went to 3 or 4 of them.
Okay. Well, as the last one to speak here, just as a comment on the cracks in the concrete is if anyone's ever had any concrete work done, a driveway or a patio, the first thing the concrete contractor will say to you is concrete cracks. It always does, and you let it go long enough, it's going to crack. And so I don't know that that's necessarily defective if those courts have been there. I've been here for 30 years, and those courts were here when I came. So, anyway, as far as from what I've heard from everybody out there, I have a couple of thoughts. One is that I didn't actually hear a single person get up and say, I really like the idea of dual-use courts. I didn't see anybody say, I really like these orange lines painted over the white lines. And so I'm sort of opposed to the idea of any dual-use courts. We have six courts there, and just sort of doing the math, dividing in a way, sort of dividing this equally, we can, if the tennis players were to give up 2 courts, that they lose 1/3 of their courts, and it leaves them with 4. Those 2 courts could then be converted into 4 pickleball courts. And then we end up with 4 pickleball courts and 4 tennis courts, all dedicated to the particular sport. Doing that, I would suggest that we used Court 1 and Court 2 as the permanent pickleball courts, because they are the farthest away from the houses. I know it's not a huge distance, but it does give some additional separation between the courts and the houses and lessens the noise problem. And if we need to put up a noise barrier too, then we do that too. As to the condition of the courts, I've been out there too and walked those courts. There's lots of cracks and lots of chips. The fences look bad. The posts are rusty. It doesn't, aesthetically is not good, and those cracks are not going to get better. They're only going to get worse. I think that we can have a win-win situation where if we do redo the entire thing, then the tennis players lose a couple of courts, but the courts they get are first quality, and they're dedicated to their sport. The pickleball players get something that's dedicated to their sport and their first quality. And so my proposal would be not A, B, or C, but an entirely different proposal where we take 1 and 2 and convert them into 4 pickleball courts. We leave 4, 5, and 6 as the tennis courts that sounds like everybody uses mostly, and then we leave the fenced one still as a tennis court. That one would be ideal for people who are going out there for tennis instruction. It's entirely enclosed. The balls would be trapped in that area, and that's kind of my thinking on all of it. So
the issue I have there, Neil, is the noise issue still. I'm not going to be comfortable going forward with any pickleball courts unless we do something for potential noise. I'd like to see staff come back, and they can pick which 2 courts to convert. I understand why you're going away from the street, but I have a physics degree and geophysics degree, and I had a course in accounting with acoustics and stuff. And that little bit of distance isn't going to help you that much for the sound. So I'm still very concerned about the noise level. I think plants will handle it that well, a high frequency, whatever, and that low frequency stuff coming off that ball bouncing. So I like to still see something with the sound. So I'll let staff pick the 2 courts that I would propose, like you, that you take 2 tennis courts and make them dedicated pickleball courts. But let staff pick them so that, but we have to have some type of sound solution integrated into the solution. And whether they want to build up something in that, where the trees used to be with a planter box and do some other stuff out there, or whether they want to put something up on the fencing, which would be back to court number 3, or something. And then also at the same time have staff, like you said, have staff look at all the fencing around there and just make sure it's up to snuff with everything else that's going on out there. And we can just fill in the cracks, like you said, and do that. I don't mind the 2 and 2. I mean, the 2 courts. But
Mike, or anyone, is there any reason why we couldn't put that one of those tall fences? When I went to high school, I went to Wainimi High. All of the courts were fenced. every single one of them, so that you didn't have a situation where you were knocking a ball into somebody else's court. Is there a way, if we did that, those two courts, that we could put the wall up there and then hang a sound deadening device on it?
Well, if you build a block wall, that's
not a block wall.
Oh, okay.
No, a cyclone fence.
There's already a fence between 3 and 2, because 3 is caged off.
Yeah, I just got it.
And so the sound barrier could be put on that fence between 3 and 2, or on the street side, or on both. And so I think we need to give direction to staff as to where to go with this. We're not voting on anything, right? But we need to. I guess we need to see if we have a consensus on whether we want to convert 2 tennis courts to pickleball courts or 1. That's the difference I've heard among the group here. 2. I'm also 2.
No, the proposal that Amy made was PB1 becomes full-time tennis, part-time pickleball.
Right.
PB2 and PB3 are permanent pickleball only, with pickleball level nets, pickleball only striping, and tennis 4, 5, 6 are tennis only with tennis only striping. And 4, 5, 6 is best for the tennis players because there are no fences in between, and the way they play, sort of round robin, people checking in and out of the games, it works better for them to handle whatever number of people are there that day when they're all, in the same place.
Yeah. I think we're all in agreement that 4, 5, and 6 stay tennis, and the question is whether with 1, 2, and 3, do we convert 1 court to pickleball courts, or do we convert 2 to pickleball courts? And then if it's 2 or 1, which 1 and which 2? And so I think for our first decision is do we want to I mean, I know that we have proposals here from staff, but we don't necessarily have to go with those proposals. So I think our question really is do we want to propose that we go forward with converting 2 tennis courts to pickleball courts, or do we want to go forward with converting 1 tennis court to pickleball court?
No, I'm comfortable. I think most of us are comfortable with two tennis courts, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Bob was more in favor of 1, though.
I suggested 1, but I haven't heard any loud outcries from the tennis people here when you suggested 2. So if you're going to cry out, go ahead and do it right now.
So if I can,
Well, I guess,
all right. So let me hold on. So let me kind of step in. Let me step in here for just a second. So one of the things that I would probably say that we need to look at is we can look at the sound barrier. We can look at that. I think from what I'm understanding tonight, 4, 5, and 6 would stay as tennis, and looking at the other 3 courts. The thing that I would caution is if we're going to redo these, the last thing that I would say from a prudent standpoint is we come back in 6 months or a year and say we now have to redo another one of those courts. So if we're doing this, that would be one consideration, that if pickleball is in essence growing and we have 50-plus players, we have 22 tennis courts, we have no dedicated pickleball, by dedicating at least a minimum of 2 courts, that at least gives them 4 dedicated courts to do that. I understand Director Kelly's issue with let's see how many people will be there. But if we come back again, that means that you're going to spend another $7,000 to redo a court that you've just done in a year. I think what we were trying to look at, where staff was coming from, is if you do at least 2 courts, you have 4 dedicated pickleball, you still have those other. I think what we were trying to look at with the 3rd court was realizing that tennis right now still does use that on occasion, depending on... Right, and I'm not saying that tennis isn't growing. I think what we're suggesting here is that we still have 22, well, that would still be 20 other tennis courts within within about a 4-mile radius, that we still have those opportunities. By making the 3rd one a dual use, there still is, if it's growing, and I understand dual use isn't always nice, but making it a dual use, you still have the opportunity to play tennis, and you still have the opportunity, if it is such a growing sport and we have 100 people, that we're not back at the table in 2 years with that, and it still allows some to grow with that 3rd one. That's entirely up to the board, but I think that was where staff was coming from when we made that recommendation in between both, that you could satisfy both
you still left one that was still able to be used as tennis for the round-robin portion of it, and yet allowed a little bit of flexibility for growth.
Well, if we left that fourth court as a purely tennis court and converted, and we had 4 pickleball courts, and we found that we just couldn't accommodate the pickleball players, going back and converting a newly refurbished court to a dual use is pretty simple, again, just with the orange paint, right?
I would propose something different. I think, and I haven't heard anybody say this, in my thinking, if we take 2 dedicated tennis courts to pickleball, and a X amount of time from now, pickle demand is too heavy for those 4 new pickleball courts, dedicated courts, that we stop looking at Bob Kildee and we start looking at another site for potential pickleball court use. So we keep the 4 tennis courts here as dedicated tennis courts, period. And they're max, that's it. They're always going to have at least these 4 tennis ball courts here. Then, because now we have a site already with restrooms and parking and night lights. The next site we go to for pickleball doesn't have to have restrooms and night lights. So we can go into, could that be more of a daytime use or something, potential overflow use? So the overflow use for pickleball court, then that opens up the other sites we have across the district for potential pickleball use. You see what, down the road.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
You see what I'm saying?
What
if that demand comes up?
How much pickleball is taking place at night? Lot?
Well, it doesn't matter. But the point is, we have met.
It matters because
but we have,
because the other tennis courts that we have in town would be hotly contested by the tennis players. They're well used, and we would end up in a much different situation.
Well, I think this would give us a good evaluation, and then we can see where we need to go down the road. But these 4 tennis courts will stay as tennis courts.
Well, let's try to come up with a consensus for staff here at this point. I guess maybe we can just do like a show of hands. Is who would suggest that we go to converting two courts to pickleball as opposed to, and who would go with just one? So let's just first, let's say, ask who would rather see 2 courts be converted. That's 3.
Is that a motion?
Is it?
Well, no, it's just an informal poll.
This is not a motion item. This is a direct. We're just giving direction. So,
Okay, well,
so there's not going to be no proposal on this.
I think 2 is the minimum that we convert.
Yeah. Okay.
Mine is 2 or 3. So.
Okay.
Has anybody investigated if there's another caged court other than the one that we have at Bob Kildee? Because tennis players do use that to practice swimming. And I hate to say it because I heard
Yeah. The proposal already is to. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think our if I'm understanding everybody, our proposal now. Sorry. Could we? Okay. Our proposal now is to leave the caged court as a tennis court. So that's my understanding.
No,
so
that's not the proposal.
Okay. Then
that's the proposal as far as
that is.
Can I interject? Yes. And I'm sorry. I know you guys. This is completely up to you, and I respect that. If you guys can decide the quantity, then staff can go back and meet with both groups multiple times, whatever it takes, so we can all figure out what will work. And obviously the show of this community in the audience are the ones who have seen the poster that was out there. I emailed both groups letting them know that they're welcome to come tonight. And with your approval, staff can decide with ball and tennis what 2 courts they would like converted, or however many courts you decide. But staff could go back and meet with the community, and then they can decide which ones they want to give up. And then you still have the final say when we bring this back to you potentially as a bid, and you can say yay or nay, but you have the final say at the next board meeting, whenever that may be, that we come back with a bid.
Okay. So then
I don't know if that works.
Can we go with is this be acceptable to everybody, the direction to the staff is that we will research the idea of converting 2 tennis courts into 4 pickleball courts, leaving the remaining 4 tennis courts as tennis courts, with the option of later converting one of them into a dual-use court if we need to or not. And the staff will determine with the tennis users and the pickleball users as to which of those 2 courts would be the appropriate ones to convert.
Well,
is that
I agree,
acceptable?
2 courts, but we need the sound. We want to
include the
include
sound.
some type of sound.
include
sound
investigation of
effect
sound.
Can
in there.
include information on sound.
They're going to take that into consideration.
Yeah, I'm saying,
Yep.
yes.
Okay. Okay. Are you acceptable?
I think that was a motion, and I get to say second.
Okay. Are we?
we're not.
Well,
You just made a motion that I think gives staff direction.
Yes.
I would like to have the motion read back so I know what it is.
Well,
So if I'm hearing this correctly, let me see if I can decipher. So the direction that you want to give staff is to look at converting two tennis courts into pickleball courts, along with sound barrier and what those costs would be. And we'll work with the pickleball and the tennis community as to which 2 courts those look at currently.
And to clarify, you also want us to look at the cost for resurfacing it all, so everyone has nice courts to play on.
correct.
I mean, not that they're not nice now. but,
and associated fences or
exceptional.
the infrastructure.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
And the fencing.
And I don't want to get hung up with the details. If this needs a motion, then we'll do a motion. As this reads, this is asking to provide direction to the staff. So my understanding is that does not require a motion. Am I incorrect? Do we
I
need
think
a
what
motion?
you're doing right now is just confirming the direction you're giving staff at this point is that we're going back to look at 2 pickleball courts, looking at the cost of resurfacing, and then coming back to the board with what that looks like from a financial standpoint.
Okay. And does that require a motion and a vote or not?
No.
No.
I
Okay.
don't think so. We're all on the same page, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. A minute ago, you were saying that it was a motion. So, okay. Okay. Are we done with that subject?
You want to thank everybody for coming?
Yes. Thank you all for being here and for wading through this. So,
Could we have a 5-minute break?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
what I was going to just say.
It's been 3 hours, so. You need
That
to
was
adjourn
fun.
for 5 minutes. You need to adjourn.
5-minute break.
okay. We will be adjourning for a 5-minute break.
What'd you do?
I had my hand there.
Oh, ouch.
So then I got up and it took the weight off of it and pinched me.
So we have 4 pickleball courts now and 4 tennis courts. Yes. Okay.
Sounds like you guys are almost in a pickle.
Yeah, we're in a pickle, all right.
How you doing, Elaine?
I've been really sick for 3 weeks.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I'm
an expert on Robert's rules of order. There's a redo you get better.
Me too, without too much.
We don't have any better information than that.
Guarantee I'll be there.
Well, hey, who spends the time out there? I know what goes on out there. I agree.
Go back and forth and switch courts.
I agree. No, I thought what Neil was suggesting was the thing to do. Mm-hmm. So you see if you can push it that way, okay?
I was trying to.
Now they know they don't know that before. That's going to be very interesting. Yeah, that is. I didn't know what was going on. I went up there and I like.
This was funded, identified in a 2017-18 capital improvement plan. The yard was built in The park shower was built in 1977. We used to have underground fuel tanks that were there, and some years back we had to spend over $1 million to get everything cleaned up underground. And through the years, our yard doesn't get taken care of. When I first started, we repainted the building, and after that, it hasn't had a paint job in 20 years. So it's one of the things that gets, it just goes away. People don't pay attention to it. Anyways, it's the driveway's in bad shape. It's created a bunch of potholes. We have delivery trucks coming in, and it's a lot of safety concerns for the delivery guys and our own staff. We appropriated funds in the amount of $35,000 for this project. Here's a picture of all the red would be 4 inches of concrete, and the yellow will be 6-inch concrete. The reason for that is it's where our trash truck comes in and the delivery trucks, and to just keep it a little stronger. Here's the condition of it right now. You can see we'll be going all the way over to the building, and then there's a little area in the back there. It looks like a lawnmower sitting back there. That area too, we would concrete that in. Again, it's another picture of how bad it is. We fill it in with base, and over time it just keeps falling out. So it's roughly about 5,200 square feet of surface. 1,200 feet of that would be 6 inches for the heavy trucks. Bless you. We examined the cost of both concrete and asphalt. Asphalt's about $6 a square foot. Concrete's about between $9 and $11. The analysts, we have 15 to 30 years of life expectancy on both. 15 for asphalt, 30. Either way, 5 to 7 years for the asphalt will be slurried again. So about $4,000 a year, every 4 or 5 years to redo that. And again, it's about $6 a square foot. Concrete would be 30 to 50 years expectancy. It's durable, longevity. It costs a little bit more money, $9 to $11 a square foot. So we would do, staff would go in and remove all existing marked asphalt. The reason staff would do it is because we can get more for the dollar. We get more asphalt pulled out and more concrete poured. They would have a contract come in, grade and compact, 90% compaction. Again, they'll do 1,200 square feet of 6-inch, 4,000 square feet of 4-inch. And we'll put half-inch rebar every 18 inches on center. And we'll use a stronger, most concrete's 2,500 PSI. We'll use 3,000 PSI. It's a stronger concrete. And just with the broom finish, and then half-inch expansion joint. Here's a timeline. Bidding the 11th, the mandatory walk is the 26th, and then bid will close October 11th. So it is recommended the board approve the bid specifications for the park maintenance yard driveway project and direct staff to solicit proposals for bid specifications.
Okay, Mike, any questions?
Yeah, I'm glad you're proposing concrete, because I would do that anyway. If you didn't, you came in here with asphalt, I would say, why aren't you coming in here with concrete? So that's good. The only question I have for you is that enough space for the amount you're covering with the 4-inch concrete? On the map you had there were some other areas that weren't going to be covered. You need any additional coverage in there? Is that a...
No, it's pretty wide there, that one area. And we have 2 dumpsters that are our main factors right there. The delivery trucks come in right there. They just back it in or pulling forward and just...
But for your maintenance work, vehicles and everything else, you don't need more concrete in there?
No.
Coverage area?
No.
Okay.
No, that's covering a lot of the asphalt.
No, I'm happy with this. Thanks.
Okay. Elaine.
We're going to do concrete for everything, for the 6 and the 4-inch.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That's it.
Bob.
That's 6-inch concrete. It's going to have the heavy trucks coming up on it. Is there a way to do that so it won't crack?
No. Concrete cracks.
Even if you do a post-tension type thing?
Post-tension depends on the soil. And that soil's out there is not expensive.
Okay.
Mark.
Is there any chance that in the next 30 years, you would want to reconfigure the buildings out there where you might want concrete not in the place where you have it now?
I'm going to say no. I think the way we're going with how much staff we have and the vehicles we have now, I don't see us getting any larger to reconfigure anything.
Okay, that was a trap question, and you stepped right into it. So that's what I wanted to hear, that would take care of us. And,
yes, it will.
Yeah, good. I agree with what Mike says, that the long term just makes so much more sense. And, the reality is we don't slurry seal it, and then it goes to pieces, and then we're back to where we are now, and it's much better off and a much cleaner solution to do the concrete. So,
right.
Absolutely right way to go. That's all I got.
Okay. Just as a real quick question, is there any value to, you re-slurry asphalt? Do you ever do anything to concrete, water seal it, anything like that? You just drive on it?
Just drive on it.
Okay.
You can seal it if you want, but there's no need to.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Do we have a proposal?
I'll make a motion to approve the bid specifications for the Parks Maintenance Yard Driveway Project and direct staff to solicit proposals for the approved bid specifications.
I'll second.
Director Magner?
Aye.
Director Mishler?
Aye.
Director Kelly? Aye. Director Malloy?
Aye.
Chairman Dixon?
Aye. 8D, approval of bid specifications for Mission Oaks Park building roof repair.
All right, here I am again. I came to you guys, as recommended, the board of directors approve the bid specifications for the roof repair needed for Mission Oaks concessions building and direct staff to solicit proposals. I came to you in August with the same job. So this was approved by the fiscal year 17-18 in capital improvement plan in July. The building was built in 95 and the addition added in 2009. This building houses a concession stand, restrooms, and storage for girls softball and for ourselves. Current roof has lasted about 22 years with minor repairs throughout the years. The roof material is made out of concrete, and these usually last about 35 years. The building sits approximately 20 feet away from the softball fields, and the fences there are about 10 feet high, and we get hit with a barrage of foul balls. Again, here's some pictures of it. And that one there's actually a third base side, or yes, third base side. So I was asked in August to come back with some comparisons for metal, asphalt, and tile roofs. So we came back, and tile roof it's more expensive, $17,000 plus it's going to keep doing what it's doing. It's going to get to the broken tiles. The metal, when I talked to the manufacturer, they say it's 3 times as much as asphalt shingles, and they could run us quite a bit. And then asphalt was the cheapest of all. I talked to the city, and they have no issues with us changing it. Just get a permit. I explained the reasons, and they were all for it. So to address the current needs, we'd remove the existing tile, tear off the paper, put new paper down, 15 to 30 pound underlayment. They'd install a 30-year shingle, which is guaranteed for 30 years. I asked that question too, so that's not an issue. They'd apply rubber emulsion polyester membrane to the alcove areas, which are the gutters that come down the middle of the roof. They'd do another elastic coating to the outside of the exposed areas, and it's again 30-year warranty. So it's recommended the board of directors approve the bid specifications for the roof repairs needed at Mission Oaks Concessions Building and direct staff to solicit proposals.
Okay.
Any questions?
Elaine.
I have no questions.
No,
We just need to replace those tiles because softball's always going to do that. So,
Mike, Bob, Mark.
My only question when we reviewed this before was about the foul balls damaging the asphalt tile, and you're saying the warranty is still good.
Yes.
Okay, that's all. That was my only objection, so I'm fine with it.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the bid specifications for the roof repair needed at Mission Oaks Park Concessions Building and direct staff to solicit proposals.
Second.
Director Magner?
Aye.
Director Malloy?
Aye.
Director Mishler?
Aye.
Director Kelly? Aye. Chairman Dixon?
Aye. 8E, consideration and adoption of Resolution 579, authorizing the general manager to apply for the Habitat Conservation Fund Wild Area Activities Grant for Nature Education Program.
All right. Good evening, Chairman Dixon, members of the board, Mitchell Cameron, administrative analyst for the district. And as you stated, it's recommended that the board adopt Resolution 579, authorizing the general manager to apply for the Habitat Conservation Fund grant to assist in funding the district's nature education program. A little bit of background, 2012, the district submitted an initial grant through HCF to fund the programming. In 2013, it was not approved through HCF. The district then submitted a new application for funding through HCF in 2013, in which it was approved in 2014. It was a $16,500 grant in which the district would match the other amount. The district has utilized those funds and is in the process of submitting for reimbursement on that initial grant. Some programs that are currently funded through the grant, just to name a few, include Junior Ranger, ethnobotany, as well as our garden tour. There's some pictures there to show participation. And again, the analysis approval of Resolution 579 is required to apply for the grant. So what will happen is if the district board decides they want to proceed with this grant, this resolution will be signed, and then district staff will complete the application and submit the application as well as this resolution to HCF. The district currently allocates $7,500 towards outdoor educational programming. That's in fiscal year 17-18 budget. And then in the event the district is awarded this grant, the board will have the opportunity to review the educational programming budget and align it in the awarded amount. The reason I say that is because we won't know that we're awarded the grant until March. So if the board sees fit, when we're doing budgeting next year, we could increase the budget to match the amount that we're awarded via the grant. The reason we wouldn't want to budget necessarily $10,000 this year is because we're not certain that we're going to get the grant, so we wouldn't necessarily want to overcommit and not have the matching funds. But again, we'll come back to the board in the spring if necessary. And then if awarded the grant, the district would have 5 years to complete the project. All right, so for the grant, the district would fund existing outdoor programming as well as add the following programs: wilderness safety class for ages 13 plus, art in the park for ages 13 plus, animal art for ages 13 plus, nature journaling, a nature discovery club, rose prunings would continue, succulents would continue, and hiking with a GoPro would be added as well. We've worked with the different contract instructors we have out there to develop the courses, and we believe to have their support moving forward, assuming we receive funding for these programs. This action will have no fiscal impact. What we'd be asking for in the grant is $60,000, $30,000 of which would be matching, so the district would provide $30,000 with the other $30,000 coming from the grant, and that would be spread across 3 years. And again, if award the grant, the cost of the district would be no greater than $30,000 applied specifically to this grant. And considering that this would be a fee-based program, some of the fees would be recouped. So although we may invest $30,000 in the programming, we do anticipate some fee recovery through providing the programs and charging fees to the user groups. And again, it's recommended that the board adopt Resolution 579, authorizing the general manager to apply for the Habitat Conservation Grant to assist in funding the district's nature education programming.
Okay. Mike?
No questions, thank you.
Elaine?
No.
Mark?
Are these the kind of programs that the Habitat Conservation Fund likes to see in the grant?
Yeah, we've gotten really good impact or really good feedback from Habitat Conservation Fund. We just closed out the trail grant from them in, I believe, March, and then we're going to close this one out soon. They were really impressed with some of the numbers that Amy and her team has put up on the last grant. Like the amount of participation, how our surveys have turned out, they're really impressed. So I'm pretty confident that we'll be successful in this application as well. And I think this is right up their alley, and this is exactly what they're looking to accomplish. Part of the goal of the program is to create more sustainable nature education programming for the community, and I think that's what we're doing. And I think they'll agree.
Great, thank you.
Bob? No. I have no questions. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 579, authorizing the general manager to apply for the Habitat Conservation Fund grant to assist in funding the district's nature education program.
Second.
Director Magner?
Aye.
Director Mishler?
Aye.
Director Kelly? Aye. Director Malloy?
Aye.
Chairman Dixon?
Aye. Okay. Item 9, informational items. And I'm first. First of all, I wanted to congratulate Mary and Director Magner and all of the members of the foundation board for an absolutely phenomenal event at the Oak Grove Park. I haven't heard anything about the numbers as to how well we did financially, but it was certainly a social and a visual and an entertaining event, and very successful, and I enjoyed it a lot. And I think everybody there did, and I've got a lot of positive feedback from people. So thank you very much for such a great job. Secondly, just to recomment on the Veterans Expo, that was also our staff and the staff from the consortium did a phenomenal job on the Veterans Expo. I was really impressed with that. It is the first time I'd been to it, and it was almost overwhelming how the response from the vets, and what a great program that was. So that's all I have. Ventura County Special Districts and CSDA.
I'm going to make this short and very brief. So in August, we had the Ventura County Special Districts Association meeting at, I think it was August 1st, up at Canale. And we had a presentation by Rich Brandis and Nicole Tallman. And they are a full-service investment banking firm that provides bond and underwriting and placement agent services to public agencies. And they also provide funding for the urban counseling to the CSDA Finance Corps. And if there's anybody out there listening and you're a special district, I would definitely suggest that you contact CSDA regarding the Finance Corps. We have one of our loans through them, and it's an easy way to go, and they have a really good track record. So CSDA has been interesting. I listened to the webinar for the legislative update last week, and I'm going to let Mary talk about that. But the Little Hoover Commission has adopted the special districts report. You can go online and you can read it yourself. But 4 of the things that came out of, there's 20 recommendations. The commission broke it into 4 areas. One of them is appropriate state oversight. Second one is improving transparency. Third one is what role for healthcare districts. And 4 is readying California for climate change. So I think, and CSDA agrees that we came out of this pretty well compared to what we started with. Kyle and his crew put in many hours of work with the Little Hoover Commission, with the staff, and the staff were willing to work with us. So I think we got a lot accomplished, and we got them. The big thing was they just put a halt to the guy who proposed that we have a 10-year sunset on all special districts. I mean, that was the craziest thing I'd ever heard of. So, but he's no longer on the commission, so they replaced him too. So I think he resigned. But I'm going to, Bob and I are going to Monterey the end of the month for the annual showcase and conference. We'll be up there for 3 or 4 days. Should be really good. The classes have been expanded. And Leo and Mary will tell you this. When they try to do a session in 45 minutes, it's just not enough time. So a lot of the sessions have been lengthened to an hour and a half. So we should be able to get more out of things. So I'm looking forward to this. They're looking at 850 people in Monterey. And the exhibition hall has not been completed. So we are literally meeting in 5 different hotels. So that should be real fun, what we're doing. So, but anyhow, that's where CSDA is, and I don't know if Mike knows where he's going to have his next VCSDA meeting. Or?
The next meeting will be here.
Oh, okay.
In our senior center.
Okay.
Is the October 3rd meeting. I've talked to a person with computer security issues and stuff, and he'll be going. That would be the potential topic right now, talking about computer security and various issues around that. It will be the next topic. And then the meeting for December will be over at the Camarillo Healthcare District for December.
Okay. Because the state president for CSDA wants to come down.
Okay.
So
Which
I will
one?
give him the information.
Which one? You don't know? Which one?
He'll come for October.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
That'll be here.
I'll have him get a hold of you.
Okay.
Okay.
And then, okay, good.
Santa Monica Mountains.
Yeah, and then I just want to make the next item on Santa Monica Mountains Conservatory. I missed a meeting about a week and a half ago on Monday night. I was in San Diego. My daughter was having her second son, so C-section and stuff, and I was in charge of the night duty basically, and so I was I was in charge of the first grandson from 4:30 till 8 o'clock, and when he went down, then I was in charge of helping out with the baby all night long. So I did the night shift until about 6 o'clock in the morning. So anyway, I'm happy to be back here now that I get a break. Anyway, so I missed that meeting. So I'll have, if something, I'll see the minutes later and see if there's anything I need to point out about that later from the next one.
Okay, standing committees, personnel.
We're just dealing with the minimum wage, and you guys are going to start seeing that stuff. So that's it.
Finance.
Finance, we only are in our first month of spending, so we really have nothing really to report.
Yeah.
So, other than the fact we did make our unfunded liability payment on time. If you don't make it by the first of the year, CalPERS charges 7.375 interest, and adds to the bill. So we kind of managed the cash flow to make sure we could handle it, and Leo paid it off, and we're done with those guys. And they're not getting a penny more out of us than we have to give them. So that's finance.
You're here. Liaison. I guess we've talked about.
We talked about that, and I think starting with the next meeting, if I'm not sure, Neil, I think you'd be replacing me completely.
Yeah.
That'd be the switchover point.
And that'll be September 21st. Am I right? Okay. Yeah, September 21st will be a meeting.
And policy.
We've been updating and working through with staff.
Yeah. A lot of stuff that's going to come forward in the next couple of meetings. So nothing. Foundation.
Well, Neil said we did a thanks to staff. That fundraiser that we had was just absolutely the best we've had, and I want to thank all the staff and make sure that Megan knows too, because she just did a wonderful job. Lots of things to do, lots of things were going on. The Falconer, is that what you call her, was fantastic. I always get concerned when we have those kind of presentations, but when she spoke for 7 to 8 minutes and she was done, it was just perfect. And only thing that could have been better is that she let that falcon go, because I seen those pigeons up there, so I was ready for her to let him go. But it was just great and such a beautiful night. And thank you, Linda Lamb and Bert Lamb. They make that a go. And Mary, thanks for pulling it all together. I'll let you talk.
Just some preliminary numbers right now, very preliminary, but it looks like initially we brought in somewhere with ticket sales and everything about 32,000. So now we have to go through with all the expenses and stuff. So we think that it'll probably be somewhere about between 25 and 28,000 that we end up bringing in. So that'll be a good chunk to add to about 20,000. So we have that. We're about between a third and a halfway there for the foundation that wants to spend $100,000 for the refurbishing the caretaker house. So it's a giant step forward, which will be helpful. So.
Okay. So general manager's report.
Okay. We'll see if we can make this quick. There's been a couple changes with the office remodel. We were supposed to actually start this week, but due to pieces not being in, we've had to push that off. So the office remodel, the rest of it will happen the week of October 12th through the 19th. So we'll be moving forward with that. Park signage has come in. So in the next over the course of the next month or so, we'll start to put those signage in. That's been long awaited. So that'll be moving forward. If you've been by Bob Kildee parking lot, that's in process of being redone. So they're working on that as we speak. And then we'll finish that, and then they'll come back and do the final touches September 21st and 22nd. So all of those things are moving forward. Legislative updates, a couple key, AB 979, which is the Local Agency Formation Commission and district representation. When we went up to on Ledge Days, that was one of the pieces of legislation, and basically what that means is that for LAFCOs is that all areas would be special districts should be represented. So that's a good piece of legislation that has gone through. Some of the stuff that they covered last week pertains to AB 1086, which is housing and regional housing needs, which will be an interesting how that will affect various districts and such. Because I think one of the things the state is starting to see is there's not enough housing, so they're trying to push affordable housing. So what does that mean for everybody coming forward? So just an FYI, some of those are coming through. Senate Bill 5, which is the California Drought, Water, Parks, Climate, Coastal Protection, and Outdoor Access for All Act of 2018 is moving forward, which is a park bond bill. So that bill was created for the expansion of parks. The one nice thing with this bill has been the last bond that they had passed kind of went all toward urban parks as well as low-income parks in low-income areas. There's a section actually in this bill that is also carved out for per capita. So that is something that will be nice if that continues to go through. There's also a nice section in there for actually Santa Monica Conservancy as well as dealing with coastal areas. So there's some other carve-outs with this opposed to last time, which a large majority kind of went to the LA, Oakland, and some of those urban areas. So that's a bill that we're continuing. It's made it through the first. It's going back. So it's going back to appropriations. A couple other things we'll need to keep our eye on are the CEQA, California Environmental Quality Act. And the reason we'll need to kind of keep an eye on that is one of the things they're trying to push through with that is continuing education. So every agency would now need to have somebody that is educated in CEQA and have to take continuing education. So that's one of the areas that we're going to have to kind of watch for in the future with that. The other one with AB 1479, which is Public Record Acts, one of the things that they're looking at that specifically is that a person or a department is in charge of any public records request, and so it goes through one. So I think what they're trying to do is push it so you can't kind of go, this person is in charge of it today, somebody else is in charge of it. So that's one of the other bills. Those are most of the bills. There's a whole slew, but those are kind of the main ones that CSDA, when I was on the conference call last week, that was kind of looking at, kind of noticing. Coming up, we have committee meeting, our finance committee meeting on the 20th. We have liaison on the 21st and policy on the 28th. So last but very not least is most of you know that Amy will be retiring officially after 20 years. And so wanted to take this time to say thank you for all her service. And she's been instrumental with the district as far as providing leadership and the Recreation Division, as well as other departments stepping up. I know she stepped up a couple years ago in the interim session, and just want to thank her for her years of service. And now she gets to go spend quality time with Kai and family, and I think she's kind of looking forward to that. But thank you, Amy, for everything that you've done. Her official last day is October 4th, but for some reason she said she wasn't going to show up for the meeting. I don't understand why. So we wish her well in her future endeavors.
She's seen how we act when people are going away. That's why she's not going to come.
So that is all I have for tonight.
Hey, oral communications. Anyone have an oral communication?
I do. A couple of things. I wanted to congratulate Nick. Not only has he been with us 16 years, but he grew up in this community. He played on my son Matt's baseball team when he was a kid. It makes me feel so old to realize that he's been working for us for 16 years. I would have guessed 8 or 9 tops. But it's really great to see someone who really loves this community move up. The other thing is, I watched last night's city council meeting, and both council members, Tremblay and Craven, who attended the Starlit Summer Nights fundraiser for the foundation, commented on what a great event it was. And Mrs. Craven had an especially good comment. She mentioned that if there's another way to raise money that the Park District hasn't already thought of, I'd like to hear it, because all the things that they had going on, and the way Megan converted that donated pearl necklace into 50 times $35, it was just amazing. That was really impressive, and I'm super excited to hear it. It just really made us all proud. The other thing I want to mention is that on September 27th, the City Council will be considering a redevelopment proposal at Camarillo Springs. And the proposal involves converting what is probably the largest public recreation facility in Camarillo at 120 acres, which is the Camarillo Springs Golf Course. They're proposing to take 63 acres and 8 of the 18 holes away from the golf course and turn it into development. And this will be a huge lost opportunity for our community, which I would encourage everyone to come and tell the City Council just how bad an idea you think that is. I know I will be there doing it, and it's going to be quite a battle, because the landowner has a lot of money and has done a lot of organizing, attempting to create a proposal that will find a few supporters amongst the thousands of residents of Camarillo Springs, and convince the council that it's a community-supported resolution, when in fact it's really only supported because the owner of the golf course has staked out the edge of the golf course, literally with stakes and flags on them, to let us all know where the fences will go up right behind our properties along the golf course. So it's incredibly intrusive and not appropriate development, but it's going to be on the council agenda 27th, and the council needs to hear from us about it. Right, that's all I have.
I'm just going to, again, welcome to Nick on all that type of stuff. I'm glad you're doing all this. Glad to see you out there again. And then I'm mentioning on this coming Monday, the 11th, at the Optimist Club, I'm going to be giving a talk about the senior center and the needs assessment study to the group over there, bringing them up to speed on that and stuff. So that's all.
Really?
Talked enough. Thank you very much.
Bob.
Again, congrats, Nick. You're going to do a great job for us. You already have, so I don't expect anything less. So I want you up there all the earlier tomorrow morning. Okay. And surprisingly, but I guess it's not too much of a surprise, I didn't get the email on Amy. I found out just a little while ago. And so I'm like shocked. And I don't know what it's going to be like not having you around. But I'll still see you walking down the street. So, are you sure? Yeah, you'll be yelling at me or something. Yeah, I was just shocked, but I wish you well, and I know it must have been a real well-reasoned decision between you and your husband and your child, and have a great time.
And I'd also like to say thank you to Amy for all the things she's done for this district and for this community. And I was surprised too, but as I think about it, I think it's a great move for you. There's, you only have kids once, and you, when they grow up, you look back and think, what happened? And so taking time off, making that probably a financial sacrifice to do it is, I don't think you're going to regret it. And it will be interesting to have you out there in the community where you can walk up to that podium and say whatever you want and not have to worry about, because I know there's a lot of things going on in your head that you don't say. So
by the way, how do you
thanks
get
again, Amy.
to retire at 29?
All right. With that, meeting is adjourned.